the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Drussel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. Hey, good evening. How is everybody? I think we finally got an intro where we didn't put the applause on accident. We unmuted the mics.
Right. We muted the mics.
No, well, we muted them, but
and then we also unmuted them, right?
Yeah, because there's been times we thought we got this great, and then we
do your
forgot.
impression. Do your impression.
My impression with a
we're talking
when it's
on
mute is
mute.
like, and then you get people, I can't hear. So how was your week, Garrett?
Hectic. How was your week?
It was. I'm ready to strangle you, but no, I'm just joking.
Oh my god.
No, I've spent.
Are you the Zodiac?
Yeah, well, it could be, but no. I hope you guys like this show, and
You were 1 year old.
we didn't have a run through at this at all. So
Hey, I will give all the credit to Keith on this because he put in
You
30
damn
plus
right you
hours
will.
on this. Yeah.
how many
a lot.
hours? How many hours, Garrett, did I put into this thing?
30 plus.
Yeah.
Just on this.
And I mean, literally getting home from work and working on this till 11 to about midnight, and then the other night, man, I just had to done.
Yeah.
I got to lay down because there's so many twists and turns on this case. But is anybody familiar with the Zodiac case? So put it in there if you can. But this case, you can go down the rabbit hole like Delphi. It gets a little crazy. Also, I want to also say at the very beginning, which I told you guys last week, viewer discretion advised. If you don't like graphic stuff, close your eyes.
Because there's a reason why you put this
Yeah,
stuff
I'm
in
not.
there.
I'm definitely not going to tell you to get off my channel or anything like that. But there's 3 graphic pictures I do have of bodies in the Zodiac case that are pretty bad. So if you don't like that thing, you might turn your head. I don't know. But anyway, it looks like On the Trail Kim, yes, she's heard of. Cool Beans, yes, she's heard of the case. Very cool.
Cool beans.
And we have to remember there's a 15-second delay. So if we say something and then it's like they're answering a question,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, all right.
100%.
Well, Pamela, how are you doing?
I'm good.
How was your week?
It's been hectic, but I'm still putting one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
Good. That's what's important.
This girl basically works 7 days a week.
She's a workaholic.
She's on call. That's what
I know.
on call, gets called out at 3 a.m. Then she's working the weekends and everything. But
She's an angel.
she's an angel sent from heaven above. All right, I'm going to wait for just a couple of minutes to get a few more people in here before we get
I'm so
started.
excited about this show.
Yeah,
I knew this was gonna. I think this is gonna be one of our best shows.
it's a good case, and guys, we're getting into it somewhat detailed, but I mean, enough to wet your whistle to go do your own research on it. I mean, it's pretty thorough. I've got 17 pages of notes here.
Yeah.
And we got, what I count, 31 slides, I think.
Yeah.
And that's only part 1. That's just covering the murders and some of the ciphers and the letters that came in.
It's just so bizarre.
It's crazy bizarre. And the fact that they never caught anybody is
Right.
insane.
So do you think that in today's time he would have been caught like after the second or third murder?
God, I want to say yes, but look at
Camera.
Delphi.
True.
And look at other cases
True.
that they even got them on video.
Yeah.
But well, I got another guy in here. My son. It's going like Lake Berryessa, duh.
Yeah.
There's no way they couldn't have caught him at that point.
Why?
Because there's more people there. You got cameras. You have people.
See, that's what I was thinking,
You got
yeah.
more population overall. In the
Right, yeah,
West.
Yeah, well, you've got now too. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. I
Well,
mean,
and somebody would have
they
a cell
could
phone
they
too.
could have traced his car, which we'll
Yeah.
get in. They're going, hey man, start the show. Will you?
Sorry.
Shut
That's
up.
a great point. See, that's what I was thinking too, is about that specific case. Like, I feel like he would have been caught pretty soon after that.
Yeah, that's good. And my son's into true crime like I am. My whole family
Especially
is.
Zodiac, though.
Yeah.
Dill Pickle has
Oh,
his
Have you
stuff together.
Have you guys seen the Richard Ramirez thing on Netflix? It's good. Good.
Creepy. Good and insane.
Yeah, my daughter Taylor, she watched it, and then she had a nightmare that Richard Ramirez was strangling her in her bed, which I'm not. We shouldn't be laughing at that. Bless,
we know
bless her
Taylor.
heart. Doug says, "Hey, Dilbert."
Oh.
Doug's in the chat
What's
room.
up, Doug?
Let's do some shouts here. Mona, hello. Melinda, hello.
Mona.
Rosie, hello. Adlita Ramirez, hello. Let me see. Randy, Ann, Shan Grout. And remember, I don't got my glasses on. Cool Beans, he's on the trail.
Hey, Dylan, will you text Cass and ask her why she's calling me during the show?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, is it because that could be emergency?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you better check that out. So Garrett may have to leave.
I hope it's like, hey, what did you want for dinner?
Oh God.
Or where'd you put the vacuum cleaner? Something like that.
Right. Well, let's
What do you think the odds is that?
I don't know. Let's hope it's.
She's probably like, we can't hear you.
God, that would be horrible. No, they would have been saying that
Yeah.
already. So, hey, Bonnie. Bonnie's in the chat. Hello, Bonnie. It's
Bonnie Rampy?
Yeah. Really
I
good to
love
see
her.
Bonnie. You guys should watch the, we did an interview of Bonnie. Very, very interesting.
Super interesting.
On UFOs and stuff, which was really cool.
Hey, before we get started, last episode was awesome.
What?
Our last episode was awesome.
It was.
He said what? The last episode was amazing.
It was.
Those two guests were really, really
That
good.
was, yeah, that was, it was, man, you know what? To me, it was nice to revisit the paranormal.
I agree.
And kind of give the true crime thing a break. Because, man, it's almost like it's what we talked about. It's just tragedy,
Yeah.
depressing.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, you know, it keeps the case, especially, well, I don't know if this case will ever get solved being as old as it is. But, I mean, it'll have to be DNA. And then again, there's a lot of question whether that's actually the Zodiac's DNA on the
Right.
stamp. Because, yeah, well, we'll get into that. That's the next show.
Never mind.
Huh?
Cass said never mind.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We got 22 people in here. I'm not starting.
No,
till
that says 220.
Yeah, I'm not starting until we get 220 people in here.
Copyright.
Copyright. Yeah, I got. I don't know how many of you guys were at the or about three
shows ago.
Three shows
Yeah,
ago.
3 shows ago.
I played say the title, Pam.
Girl from Ipanema.
The Girl from Ipanema.
Yes.
Girl from Ipanema.
Yes, I played it at the beginning, and everybody was enjoying it.
was
And then,
perfect.
like 3 days later, copyright, boom, they hit me with it. So I had to cut it out, which I was so disappointed because I was going to play like Spanish Flea the next week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it'd been fun. Okay, are we ready, Garrett?
Let's
Are
get
you ready?
started.
All right, you want to? I'm gonna actually. Garrett's gonna be doing the slideshow today, guys. Big hand for Garrett.
Thank you.
Oh wait, somewhere there's applause. I got so many buttons now. I'm not sure where's. Oh, down the hill. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Now, Garrett, you take this with love. Put it in your lap. Okay. God, I'm sorry, guys. This is turning into
Okay, let's
a
do it.
comedy show. Okay, here we go. Hey, Tim, how you doing? Tim Bray's in the chat, everybody. Give it up for Tim. All right, so we are going to start. All right, on December 20th, 1968, young couple David Faraday, age 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, age 16, had just enjoyed their first date. Now, I got to stop right there. First date,
I know,
you
man.
get murdered.
Yeah, like brutally.
Yeah, yeah. And you know how the parent, as parents, like, oh, this is my daughter's first
Yeah.
date. You're worried, and you get that call.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so sad, man.
This
That's
one's sad.
horrible. Anyway, they attended a Christmas concert at their high school in Vallejo, some 20 miles from San Francisco. After the concert, the pair drove to a more private location to become better acquainted. They parked next to the reservoir pump house at the Vallejo Hills above Lake Herman, listening to the car radio and enjoying each other's company. And the picture I'm showing you now, that is the spot where they parked. This picture was only taken, I think, about a year ago or two. And it basically looks the same as it did in
It
1969.
looks pretty desolate.
It's very desolate. I think the only difference is there was a one, like the gate swung. It wasn't two that
Okay.
opened up, but it's pretty close to it. So let's go to the next one here. Wait. Okay. Now, everybody, don't freak out. All right. A man has suddenly appeared in the window at the vehicle. David Faraday began to open his door when, without warning, the man shot David in the head. Betty Lou Jensen attempted to flee the scene. She managed to exit the car and make it 30 feet from the vehicle. The assailant unloaded 5 shots from a .22 semi-automatic pistol into the teenager's back. So we're going to start it right there on this one. This picture here is, to me, Garrett, that's obviously he put the gun right up to his ear, because you can see the gunpowder burns there. Okay. And let's go to the next one. And that's where David was laying out.
Because he made it out, right?
He got out.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing is I haven't figured out, and I tried to look it up, and I haven't got a good answer. Both car doors were open when the police arrived, right? So I think what happened, and we'll get into this in a minute, he shot a couple times before just to get their attention to get him out of the car.
Right.
And if you see the position of his body, he's on the right side of the car. So I bet he's opening the door to get out, and I bet Zodiac said, no, come out this way. She gets out, and then as soon as he gets out, he shoots him.
And she bolts.
And she bolts.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next one. All right, this is Betty Lou. She started off after David was shot. She took off running, and the Zodiac hit her 5 times. And show the next shot. All right, this is the autopsy picture, or the morgue, and you can see the bullets 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And some of the reason I brought this up, because I wanted to bring this up too, is I don't know if any of you guys been out there to that Lake Herman Road, but you can't even see your hand in front of your face. I mean, it's pitch black. I've never been there, but I've talked to people who went out there, and they said there's still no street lights to this day.
Wow.
I don't think so. And they said it's just totally dark. And to say that he hit her, I mean, even though with that grouping,
right,
that's still pretty good for someone running from you and in the pitch dark. So you got to ask yourself, how was he able to do that? Which, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, how he was able to make those shots in the dark like he did. Okay, so let's go to slide 6. All right, the Rambler's passenger door was open. A bullet had penetrated the roof of the vehicle, and another bullet passed through the back window. 10 shell casings were found around the crime scene. David's body was found on the ground near the back wheel of the passenger side. 1 bullet had penetrated his skull behind the left ear and entered his brain. Betty Lou's body was found further away from the station wagon, an indication that she tried to run away from the killer. He shot her 5 times in the right side of the back. Betty Lou died in the darkness, but David was still breathing when police officers later arrived at the scene. He was unresponsive and died before reaching the hospital. So I know when investigators got there, they said they could see, like it was cold that night, and they could see he was breathing because it was making that steam out of your mouth. And so, and I think that's probably one reason there's no picture of him laying anywhere, because they picked him up and got him out of there as fast as possible.
Did Zodiac call? Is that how they knew?
No.
Okay.
No, he had not called on this murder. He didn't wait until the second murder.
So how did they come across it though? Just random?
No. A lady was driving late at night, and she had came across, she saw the girl's body laying out. So she went to Berryessa, I think it's what it's called, Berryessa, and flagged down a police officer and alerted him to it. And then they came out there and investigated the murder. So the murders horrified the community, afraid that a mad gunman was on the loose. An investigation led to a young boy who argued with David Faraday over his relationship with Betty Lou. Investigators learned that the boy had an alibi, so the search for the killer continued as the case faded from the headlines. By the summer of '69, many observers wondered if the mystery would ever be solved, yet they had no idea that the nightmare had just begun. So right there. So you can see from where the red marks are. Again, I wish I had a pointer to show you guys, but you can just kind of listen to what I say. The first shot he hit the car. It shattered the window, as you can see in that one picture that we saw before. Second one looks like it went over, and they think he fired 2 shots to get their attention to get out of the car and ordered them out of the car. And then you see the third shot there, and the fourth I think would have been. Sorry, let me put my glasses on.
Old man.
I know, I'm so old, you guys. No, I'm not. I'm not. I feel like it, but I'm not. But anyway, so Betty, so I'm gathering the Zodiac was by the passenger door. She takes off and he starts firing and hits her. And you got to remember.
Very accurately.
Yeah. So this just looked like, they had no clue. No one knew who the Zodiac was at the time. This was just a killing that happened at Lover's Lane. And they said in Vallejo, where this happened, and they said, in Vallejo, they never had really any type of murders. And
now they have a double homicide.
Now they have a double homicide, and it's
and a bizarre one at that.
Very bizarre indeed. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, just before midnight on July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau drove into the Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, 4 miles from the Lake Herman Road murder site, and parked. While the couple sat in Ferrin's car, a second car drove into the lot and parked alongside them, but almost immediately drove away. Returning about 10 minutes later, this second car parked behind them. The driver of the second car then exited the vehicle, approaching the passenger side door of Ferrin's car, carrying a flashlight and a 9mm Luger. The killer directed the flashlight into Mageau and Ferrin's eyes before shooting at them. Firing 5 times, both victims were hit. Several bullets had passed through Mageau and into Ferrin. The killer walked away from the car, but upon hearing Mageau's moaning, returned and shot each victim twice more before driving off. So, we were talking about risky.
Yeah. In every single episode we've done.
Right. But we were talking about, one of the cases you made, like in Delphi and some of the other ones, is low risk.
Right.
We don't want this,
minimizing it.
It. This guy goes in. Okay. And again, take me to, keep going. Okay. Right here. This is where they parked. If you go back, go ahead and go back. No, this way.
Okay.
This way. Okay. This is what it looked like then. Oops. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that, y'all. And keep going. And this was the car, Darlene Ferrin's. It's actually not her car, but it's a 61 Corvair. Go again. Okay. All right. They are right off of a little, very, very busy road, right? So he parked right behind him, as you can see. And again, this is July the 4th. What's everybody looking at me so weird for? This is July the 4th, so it's busy, right? So you think, there's going to be traffic. He's on, I think it's Columbus Parkway is what that's called. Yeah, Columbus Parkway. And he's firing this 9mm right off the side of a very busy road.
Right.
And and there's a chance a cop could have been driving
definitely.
by. And especially at that time, usually, around midnight and later, the cars you see on the road are cops.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And then goes back to
finish
instead of getting back in his car and just going, hey, it's good enough.
Yeah.
He went back and shot him again.
And they both died, right?
No.
Okay, so
no.
Okay.
No, Michael Mageau lived.
Okay, this one. Okay.
Yeah, he
Which
lived.
is a miracle.
Oh yeah, he was shot several times. To this day,
he said 6. Was it 6 times?
Yeah, he had been shot in the knee, through the face. He was shot in the leg like 3 or 4 times. He had jumped in. Yeah, he actually said when it happened, he jumped in the back seat.
Right.
And the guy just went there where he was at and started firing at him back there.
Unbelievable.
And he was just shot up to pieces, man. It was horrible.
And how did the cops come upon this scene?
Well, they had a report of shots fired. It's July the 4th, and they said, probably firecrackers.
Right.
So they didn't respond.
Maybe that's why he did it on July 4th.
Well, that's kind of a good idea.
Yeah.
That's good. Damn it, Garrett. Make me look stupid.
No. I was just spitballing.
No, actually, that is a good point. But still, to me, it's just off of that parkway. That's just really
and just the way he parked behind him and everything, using flashlights. Like if a cop drove by, he would definitely swoop in there and be like, "Hey, what is this? What's going on over here?"
Yeah. So anyway, they thought it was firecrackers. So had they got there sooner, who's to say that Darlene could have lived? I think.
Right.
I think it wasn't going to happen because they said she was just full of holes.
Right.
And so they did. They said they showed up at the scene. The boy was up against the tire at the back of the car, and he said he just kind of pointed like towards Darlene, like to see if she needs help.
Right. Yeah.
And
Dang,
the officer said she mumbled a couple of words. He couldn't understand anything she said. And they asked him to get into the ambulance and ride with her in case miraculously she was able to give him some information. And they said one of the things which is just heartbreaking is he goes, I noticed when the paramedic was giving her mouth to mouth that her blouse was just going from the air, was moving up and down.
Oh man! Wow.
So they was coming right out the bullet holes. So
Oh my God.
her lungs were actually had
Jeez,
been
dude.
penetrated. So
That's insane.
yeah, hey, I told you
That's
this.
insane.
Told you to show of your discretion advised, right?
Yeah.
So let's go on to July. Okay, so July 5th, 1969 at 12:40 a.m. A man phoned. This is interesting here.
Is that the right one?
Oh, yeah, leave it right there.
Yep.
This is Garrett's first time doing a slideshow. He's doing great. Doing good.
Thank you.
Doing good. Okay, so on July 5th, 1969 at 12:40 a.m., a man phoned the Vallejo Police Department to report and claim responsibility for the attack. He also took credit for the murders of Jensen and Faraday 6.5 months earlier. Police traced the call to a phone booth at a gas station at Springs Road in Tulome, located about 0.3 of a mile from Farron's home and only a few blocks from the Vallejo Police Department. Wow. And Farron was pronounced dead at the hospital. Majo survived the attack despite being shot in the face, neck, and chest, and knee.
Right.
Majo described his attacker as 26 to 30 years old, 195 to 200 pounds, or possibly even more. 5'8", white male with short, light brown, curly hair. So that's the letter there if you want to see it. Let me see. Actually, I think I have it here. The letter says, and this is the murderer of the two teenagers. Oh, by the way, yeah, I should tell him a letter came in, huh?
Right. Yeah.
All right. On July 31st, 1969, 3 letters prepared by the killer were received at the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicles, and the San Francisco Examiner. And the letter stated, Dear Editor, this is the murderer of the two teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July near the golf course in Vallejo. To prove I killed them, I shall state some facts which I and only the police know. Number 1, brand name of ammo was Super X. 10 shots were fired. The boy was on his back with his feet to the car. The girl was on her right side, feet to the west. And on the 4th of July, the girl was wearing a patterned slacks. The boy was also shot in the knee, and the brand name of ammo was Western. So these were facts that they did not release to the press.
Wow.
And so they knew that, okay.
This guy is legit.
Right. And he put, here is part of the cipher. The other 2 parts of the cipher are being mailed to the editors of the Vallejo Times and the San Francisco Examiner. I want you to print the cipher on the front page of your paper. In the cipher is my identity. If you do not print the cipher by the afternoon of he says Fry instead of Friday, Fry 1st on August 69, I will go on a kill rampage Friday night. I will cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the night, then move on to kill again until I end up with a dozen people over the weekend. So go ahead and flex. Okay, go again. And there you go. So each newspaper got one part of the cipher. Okay, so that's called the 408 cipher. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. The nearly identical letters subsequently described by psychiatrists to have been written by someone you would expect to be brooding and isolated, took credit for the shootings at Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs. Each letter also included 1/3 of the 408 symbol cryptogram, which the killer claimed contained his identity. The killer demanded they be printed on each paper's front page, or he would cruise around the weekend killing lone people in the night, then move to kill again until he ends up with a dozen people dead. The Chronicle published its 1/3 of the cryptogram on page 4 of the next day edition. An article printed alongside the code quoted Vallejo Police Chief Jack E. Stilts was saying, "We're not satisfied that this letter was written by the murderer," which we'll talk about in a minute, and requested the writer send a second letter with more facts to prove his identity. The threatened murders did not happen, and all 3 parts were eventually published. So basically, all 3 ciphers were published because at first they were like, listen, we're not going to listen to a maniac. We're not going to do what a maniac says. But there was a lot of people in the newsroom were like, well, what if he kills 12 people?
Yeah, for sure.
And then they find out, if we don't release this, we're going to look bad.
Right.
So they did. And
so they went ahead and released it.
they went ahead and released it and all. Yeah. And they had like 3 parts of the cipher, but you had to put all 3 of them together to get the complete thing, right?
Okay.
All right. So moving on. What picture are we at there, Garrett?
Right there.
All right. Let me grab where's the key for that? All right, I've got it. Sorry about that, guys. I gotta get caught up here. All right. Okay, so anyway, that's good. You're good. But the 408 cipher, okay, it was solved. Go ahead and take that picture off for a minute.
Okay.
It was solved by Donald and Betty Harden on August 8th, 1969, Salina, California. They cracked the 408 symbol cryptogram. It contained a misspelled message in which the killer seemed to reference The Most Dangerous Game, which is a old movie from the 30s. He also said that he was collecting slaves for his afterlife. No name appears in the decoded text, so he lied about that. And the killer said that he would not give away his identity because it would slow down or stop his slave collection. So here's what those 3 pages said after it was ciphered. I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is when I die, I will be reborn in paradise. And all the, lone or stray people I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for the afterlife.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically it was a substitution cipher where if they figured, okay, this guy's going to say I because he likes himself.
Right.
And kill's going to be in there. Like I like to kill.
Right.
So they took like every symbol. They took the very first symbol, which I can't see it from here, but anyway. Right. And so they said, that's an I. So they went and put I and everything.
Right.
So it's a little simpler than the 340 cipher that he sends a little bit later.
So that's pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, it is impressive. The fact he got away with it is crazy.
I know.
All right, so now you can go to the next slide. Okay, Lake Berryessa attack. These are the 3rd set of victims. The Lake Berryessa attack was different from the previous 2 crimes at Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs, in that the killer used a gun but then switched to a knife in the brutal attack on Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22. The couple were enjoying the pleasant picnic at Lake Berryessa by Twin Oak Ridges on September 27, 1969. Almost 3 months after the Blue Rock Springs Park attack, Cecilia Shepard became aware of a man close by acting strange. The man was observed taking refuge behind a tree before adorning himself with a black executioner's hood and waist bib, decorated with the familiar trademark Zodiac cross circle. So we'll look at this slide here. What do you call that, Garrett? Peninsula?
I guess.
I guess, right?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
So what you're seeing there is the Zodiac was hiding behind his tree, and the 2 kids were on closer to the beach. Go into the next slide for a minute. Okay, so this is looking at the front of it. So right there, kind of, I know I can't point to, but it's kind of towards the right a little bit.
Where the shadows are.
Yeah, where the shadows are, close to the beach area there that they were attacked. And he came along. She saw him behind the tree.
He kept getting like a little bit closer.
Yeah. Well, Brian was laying on his back. She was kind of leaning over him, so her vision was kind of that way.
Right.
Well, Brian said when she said, I see somebody, he said, well, it is a park.
Yeah, they got to pee.
Yeah. And he goes, well, he's hiding behind a tree. And again, he said, well, maybe the guy has to use the bathroom. And then the next thing, oh my God, he has a gun.
Right.
And
he's closer.
And he's very close. And he's wearing his costume.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so he had the familiar trademark Zodiac cross circle along with a pair of clip-on sunglasses. He then approached the young couple, pointing a gun, to which Cecilia would alert Brian with the words, "Oh my God, he's got a gun." By the time Brian looked around, the man was already upon them. The man claimed to be an escaped convict from Deer Lodge, Montana, having just killed a prison guard and stolen a car. He requested Brian Hartnell's car keys and money, to which Brian Hartnell duly obliged. He then spoke to the man for several minutes to try and form some sort of rapport in an attempt to protect them both from the harm, but the man appeared on a mission, taking some white plastic clothesline from his belt before ordering Cecilia Shepard to tie up Brian Hartnell. It was at this point Brian Hartnell suggested to his companion that he felt he could make a grab for the gun, but Cecilia told him not to try anything, fearing it might make the situation worse. During this brief exchange, the assailant had stepped back 2 or 3 feet just out of reach, and the chance was lost forever. The hooded figure then bound up Cecilia Shepard and then had both of them tied up, laying on their stomachs. Kind of, he had them hogtied. Go to the next slide. Okay. After let me go ahead and read this. While the couple were hogtied on the ground, Brian Hartnell asked the assailant if the gun was really loaded. I would have been too afraid, because I would think if I said that, he would just shoot me and prove it to me. To which the man pulled out the gun, took out the clip, and he showed Brian Hartnell that indeed it was. He then proceeded to stab the victims numerous times. Hartnell was stabbed 6 times in the back, then Shepard 10 times in the back and abdomen, with Cecilia frantically rolling around and clearly terrified by her ordeal. Brian, obviously fearing that they were about to lose their lives, stopped breathing to play dead, realized if he thrashed around that the killer would return and finish him off. Fortunately for Brian, his tactic worked, and the cold-blooded executioner ceased his attack and walked off into the distance back up the hillside of the trail. Now, after, again, risky.
Oh, my God.
So Brian had parked his car along a dirt road that leads down to this beach, right? Or to this peninsula, whatever you want to call it. And the Zodiac had parked behind them. And instead of just jumping in his car and leaving, now he takes out a Sharpie and he does his symbol, writes Vallejo, 12/20/68. You know, that's Dave Faraday, 7/4/69. And then the murder he just committed, September 27th, 69 at 6:30 by knife.
It's just insane.
Yeah, the fact that, and this happened during the daylight hours.
I was gonna say, like midday, and he just walks out there wearing his little outfit.
Yeah, and there's boats. There's boats out there, right?
Well, are we gonna talk about like this in detail later?
Right now.
We're gonna talk about it right now. Well, that's just the crazy thing to me too. Is that he's out there with his executioner mask on. He's got his whole get up, which obviously stands out. Like if you're driving a boat and you see a dude, that's odd, right? And so the way that this guy survives is a boat finally stops for him. The guy, what's his name? The guy that survived, Brian Hartnell, waves on a boat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Once the couple had managed to loosen their bindings, Garrett's just going to tell you the story.
Well, no, I asked if we were going to talk more about it. You said, let's do it now.
Yeah, well, here.
Okay, got you.
But it's probably more interesting if we just talked about it. But once the couple had managed to loosen their bindings, Brian Hartnell valiantly struggled his way back up to the incline towards the nearby road, where he was eventually aided by Park Ranger Dennis Land. Immediately after 6:30 p.m. attack on Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard at Lake Berryessa, one key eyewitness, Ronald Henry Fong, was circling the lake in his boat and responded to the cries of Brian Hartnell. Ronald Fong turned his engine on and motored away to seek help to the Rancho Monticello Resort. It was at this point Ranger Sergeant Williams White received a call from park headquarters regarding the attack and proceeded to Rancho Monticello Resort at 6:55 p.m. It is here Ronald Fong relayed his observation to Sergeant William White as the young couple in distress, and both along with Archie White and Elizabeth White traveled via speedboat to the crime scene to offer assistance to both Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. The time is now 7:10. And what from Brian Hartnell had said, he said that 2 or 3 boats went by and he was screaming at them like, please help us. And they just looked at him and then they left. Didn't go get any help.
Crazy.
Second boat, same thing.
Right.
And then finally this guy, and he said he was scared to death. He said because this guy shut his engine off, and he's screaming, "Hey, we need help! We need help!" And he said, then he sees him turn his engine back on and leave. Well, he didn't know the guy was leaving to go get him help.
Smart by that guy, though. I probably would have done the same thing if I would have known.
Yeah, very much so. And the thing is, man, I just the whole deal. Why would this guy wear a costume for one if he knew he's going to kill him? I mean, because it would be like if you're in a boat going by and you see a guy with a big square head looking thing.
Right.
Go ahead and go on. That's what he looked like, everybody.
My God.
This is the getup. And so I couldn't understand, if he's got a mask on and he was pretty sure he's going to kill both of them, why the disguise?
I think because he was trying to develop his identity. Like to himself.
But then it's
right?
like...
You know what I mean? Like, he obviously doesn't care about risk.
Oh,
He's
absolutely not.
So for me, like reading into this kind of as a story, it's almost like he's just developing his character as a Zodiac,
right,
to himself, because that's all that matters. Nothing else matters besides what he's feeling.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's not like kind of the other crimes that we've gone over. This one
and this is during daylight hours.
Right?
I mean,
boats going by. And
yeah, your normal killer just would have,
well, he's having a conversation with them.
Yeah, but
What
it's
the hell is that?
Look at that get up. I mean, my
He
God.
put thought into that. Like, I mean, obviously, he's writing code and stuff. But
and Brian said that. Here, I'll switch this back to scene because we're going to go to a video in just a second.
okay.
Well, go to the next one for a minute.
Did you stop bossing me around all night?
I know, right?
There you go.
I love when I boss you around.
That one?
And now go back.
That one?
You're fired, Garrett.
You're fired.
You're fired. No, but how terrifying. I mean, if someone looked like that,
Nightmare, dude.
walked up to you, and again, to me, it's like wearing that. If the boat's going by and they see a guy in a paper sack with that little emblem on it, I'm thinking, okay, big risk. If I look like a normal guy, not such a big risk.
No, yeah.
And you know what Brian said? He said that emblem he put on there, he said it looked like whoever did it, it was like it was embroidered.
Like spent some time doing it.
He said, it wasn't just someone who scrawled it on there.
Right.
He said he took some time to make this little outfit.
Yeah, it's as though he's like, this is who he is, Hey, but isn't it even more scary? Hi.
Who's waving at
I
me?
don't know. Hey, isn't it even more scary though that he's dressed like that and then he just has like a casual conversation, like shows him the gun clip.
Yeah.
And, like if he's just wearing that and he just comes out violent and just starts stabbing people, that's one thing. But it's even more scary. Like he's just like, oh, I'm not gonna kill you. Don't worry about it. I'm just an escaped convict. Oh, here's my clip. Yeah, look, no big deal.
Yeah,
and he just rampages.
Right, and the first thing he said to him was, no one do anything stupid. You're going to be fine. He said, I just need to get your money, your car keys, and then I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
So he had him and Brian Hartnell, which was kind of funny, he goes, man, I thought I was going to get a great sociology paper out of this thing, and unfortunately it ended up like it did. But, so let's see. I want to show a little video because I want you guys to kind of.
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Doug in chat wants to know if there were any fingerprints found on shell casings.
Nope. No. And
That is a good question.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead. Did you knock? You knocked the thing off again. Here, let me go to this for just a second here. No, he actually. That's a good question, Doug. I was going to talk about that later, but he put airplane glue, 2 coats of airplane glue on every finger and his thumb, so that he didn't leave any prints, so he didn't have to even wear gloves.
It's absurd.
Wow.
Who would think of that?
Zodiac.
Well, yeah, and he did. He divulged that in a letter. He goes, "I know you guys think you got a print from me." He said, "But it's not my print." He goes, "I have airplane glue on my fingers."
He admitted it.
He admitted it. Yeah.
I'm smarter than you.
Yeah. So let me go here. Oops, wrong one. Okay, I'm going to play this is Brian Hartnell right after the attacks. He's in the hospital, and there's an interviewer from ABC that's talking to him. And this lasts about 5 minutes, but I just want you guys kind of take you back to 1969 because it shows like they actually go to the site. So sit tight with me here and just. So this is the whole lake area. To me, this stuff is cool. I like actually being taken back, to the times and actually where it happened. Okay, the mod's saying you guys aren't hearing anything.
I'm sure you can walk them through it though. Honestly,
Yeah, well, I mean,
why was it important that you wanted them to see this?
because like I said, when I do true crime stuff or when I read about it, or when I watch something, I really like to be taken back to that time and to see the scenery, see the place it happened,
Right.
and just the whole time of it. I guess I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah, no. That
you know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
I think most
Well, and even the way he was talking, like how he was just so matter of fact about it, to me
Right.
is just crazy, dude.
right. So, would you guys hang on? Would you guys able to hear that at all? Yes, no. Was there no sound, guys?
Hang tight. They've got a delay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting everybody has a delay.
Intermittent.
No sound. Well, there was. Okay, yeah, there was a part where it kept cutting out, and that's just part of the video. Very choppy. Okay. All right, let me try. Hang on, guys. I apologize for this. Garrett, why can't we have a show that just goes great?
Every show goes great.
No, it
I love our
does, but
shows.
I like things to go smoothly. All right, so I'm gonna try this one more time, and I think, guys, maybe I had the gain too high on that, and there is some parts of the film where it does kind of cut out, but I'm gonna take you back here. Let me know if you can hear that. Now that part cut out. That's okay. You're not supposed to have anything. It's coming through. Guys, are you hearing us at all? Okay, sorry about that, guys. I even checked that like earlier today and did a little short test YouTube video, and it was working. So I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on here.
Look at us over here, though. We got too many coals in the fire. We got notes flying around, keyboards on laps.
I know.
At least the protective ball hasn't fallen yet, Pam.
Right. And then I lose my place. It's like I had. It's the funny thing is like I had this Sharpie right, and so I thought, well, if I stopped to gather my thoughts to talk about something I was going to mark it, of course not. It's still in the cup.
That's fine.
So anyway, what I was going to add to that was Brian. She didn't die immediately. She was able to loosen the bindings on Brian's rope.
Man.
And got him undone. And so he said, she was in worse shape than he was. He said, you stay here. I'm going to go get help. And he said he would start walking. And he said about 5 feet into it, he said he'd start getting the sparkles like he's going to lose consciousness. So he'd stop, rest for a couple minutes, and then he'd walk another 5 feet, rest.
Jeez.
And all the time he's bleeding and he's almost losing consciousness. So he finally gets to a dirt road. He says as he's walking down this dirt road, he sees these lights approaching him. And he's like, putting his arms up, help,
Right.
The guy stops. He gets out. All he sees is a big black baggy jacket.
Oh, my God.
And he's thinking, oh, my God.
Here we go again.
It's the guy. He's going to kill me.
Right, yeah.
And then he said as soon as the guy turned sideways, he saw like a sheriff's emblem. And that's how he got help. But the guy, it's a miracle. That he was able to walk that far with 6 stab wounds, and he used a bayonet.
He was a really smart dude, though.
Very, yeah.
Because he even said that, like, while he was walking, he realized that if he hunches forward and kind of like hugs his chest, that it offered him some relief, and he could actually move a little bit further. So he was doing everything he could just to stay conscious, stay alive.
Right,
and he was literally about to die.
Yeah, and that interview, guys, I'm so sorry about that. You can look it up. It's called Zodiac Killer KPIX News Report. The whole thing's good, and it does cut out, though, a little bit. But basically what Brian was saying was that he had no grudge against this guy, that he wished he could have helped him.
Right, yeah.
And he tried, he was trying to give the guy, he goes, I don't have any cash on me, but
I have 75 cents.
I have 75 cents. I'd write you a check, which, of course, they're not going to do that. It'd be easy to trace that. But Brian just said, he felt bad for the guy, and I would have been so angry. And
Right. I know. I think that's what's so crazy about that interview with him, though.
Right.
It's just how matter of fact he is about it after going through something so traumatic.
Yeah. And
that's the thing of nightmares, dude.
It's absolutely. And then about 30 minutes later, guess who gets a call, Garrett?
Probably the police.
The police. And basically this guy went to a phone booth. He called. He said, I want to report a murder. A double murder.
Yeah, didn't he say that too? Wasn't he like a murder? Wait, a double murder.
Yeah.
Forgot about one.
And gave the police the directions to where to find these kids at. And
they hadn't had a chance to like radio in yet or anything, right? Or is this all happening at the same time?
No, they didn't. I don't think so. I think he got to the phone before Brian actually got help.
Oh, okay.
I could be.
See, I thought it was a park ranger that was coming across, or a sheriff. Or
it was a
something.
park ranger.
Okay, it was. Okay.
But anyway, so he made his phone call, and he just dropped the phone, left it off the hook. So a reporter on his scanner heard this, and he called the police. He goes, hey, is that call still live? He goes, I'm out in that area. And he said, yeah. And so he said, I'm going to drive, honk my horn, or yell. You tell me if you hear me.
Right. So smart.
And then we can figure it out. And eventually he did find the phone.
Right.
And if you hit the next, get slide. I'll get this down in about 2 years, guys, I promise.
You're fine.
Okay, next one. So here's the actual phone. So he left it off the hook. The news reporter made a bunch of noise, and they were able to locate the phone. Of course, dusted it for prints. Nothing. No prints.
Why leave the phone hanging?
I don't.
So they can find it.
You know, he loved teasing the law officers.
Right.
And I guess it's not gonna matter.
He's not in a hurry.
No, it's not at that point.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter to him. He's like, I'm gone, long gone, and they're not going to find me anyway.
Could they trace calls at that time?
Yeah, they could, but it was like it took
a lengthy process,
over 20 minutes usually. And that, so the first phone call he did make, they did trace that one. They were able to trace it, but I guess it depends on what police station, who had better technology. I don't know how this, and it's probably phone company stuff, I would think.
Right, yeah.
So, but I don't know. But anyway, all right, so let's move on to the 11th of October, 1969. All right, on 11th of October, 1969, Paul Stein, 29 years old. He looks a lot older than 29, doesn't he?
Man, yeah, times have changed, dude.
Yeah. A taxi cab driver who lived in San Francisco and had arrived for work earlier that evening at the Yellow Cab Company at approximately 8:45 p.m. had just taken a fare from Pier 64 to San Francisco Air Terminal. Leroy Sweet, the assistant traffic manager of the Yellow Cab Company, instructed Paul Stein of a regular pickup at 500 9th Avenue. This was the latest contact made with Paul Stein, or the last contact made with Paul Stein. I got to grab my glasses again. Sorry. 12 to 13 minutes later, he would be discovered lifeless, slumped across the passenger seat of his Ford Galaxy taxi cab. Responding officers would later notice the taxi cab meter read $6.25 at 10:46 p.m., thereby allowing them to backtrack the journey and determine that Paul Stein had most likely picked up his second fare somewhere in the vicinity of Mason and Gary intersection or Union Square, affirming the testimony of Leroy Sweet, who sent the last radio dispatch to Paul Stein. In fact, there is good evidence to believe the Zodiac Killer entered the taxi cab outside the Westin St. Francis Hotel, situated on Powell and Gary Street in Union Square. The taxi cab driver had logged into Washington and Maple and the destination on his trip sheet, but had pulled up just shy of the intersection. Keep it on that slide right there, Garrett.
Yep.
Of Washington and Cherry at 9:55 p.m., adjacent to the 3898 Washington Street residence in a wealthy district of the Presidio Heights, where his passenger drew a gun and shot Paul Stein to the right side of the head, killing him instantly. So, Maple Street, where they're right there, they're at Washington and Cherry, and he stops, and he has another block to go because that's what the Zodiac told him. I'm going to Maple Street, but he
Decided to do it there.
Yeah, or he at the stop sign just, probably I'm thinking it's a matter of opportunity to kill somebody while there's no one out. So he did shoot him right there at the corner. And go to the next slide, I believe. And this one's kind of graphic, but this is how they found Paul.
He's terrible.
Yeah, he shot him
for no reason.
Right. And they cut off some of his shirt, and we'll get on to that in just a minute. All right. From a house on the opposite side of the street, 3 teenagers eyewitness saw the unfolding events of that night as the killer removed the rear section of the victim's shirt, as well as wiping down various parts of the taxi cab interior, including the driver's side compartment. Upon leaving the vehicle, he was further observed wiping down the exterior right front passenger door and driver's side door handles. Soon after, the teenagers called the police, recorded at 9:58 p.m., but unfortunately crossed wires of misinterpretation by the police dispatcher regarding the specifics of the crime. Meant that the dispatcher had mistakenly informed the patrolman to be on the lookout for a black male adult, ultimately allowing the murderer of Paul Stein to escape the clutches of law enforcement as he walked down Jackson Street, 1 block from the crime scene. Unknown at the time, this was to become the best and ultimately the last chance for ever capturing the elusive Zodiac Killer. So, big oops there.
Big oops.
Go back.
Going back on that. Okay.
No, let's go back to I don't want to leave it on the body, but the swatch, the swatch. We'll get into that in a minute. So, from the vantage point of 50 to 60 feet away, the 3 teenagers described the suspect to the police dispatcher as a white adult male in his early 40s, around 5'8", heavy built, reddish brown or blonde crew cut hair, wearing eyeglasses, dark brown trousers, dark navy blue or black parka jacket, dark shoes. But the false description unfortunately gave the Zodiac Killer a lucky break from which he took full advantage. So, I don't know whether to read this or just talk about it.
Just talk about it.
Because, so you got officers out looking for a black male. So, I'm going to go ahead and read this part. So,
Okay.
when responding officers scouring the area observed a heavy-set white male, approximately 5'10" in height, 35 to 45 years old, 180 to 200 pounds, walking near the intersection of Jackson and Maple Street. No alarm bells rang, and the Zodiac Killer dissolved into the night. According to eyewitnesses, the Zodiac Killer, after exiting the taxicab, walked to Cherry Street, headed north to Jackson Street before turning right and heading east towards the Jackson and Maple Street intersection. 2 police officers on duty that night, Donald Falk and Eric Zelms, had been patrolling the eastern Richmond district, traveling northbound on Presidio Avenue just past Washington Street when they received a radio broadcast of what was thought at the time to be an assault and robbery on a taxicab driver near the Washington and Cherry intersection. The 2 officers proceeded on towards Jackson Street, turned west, and were just approaching the intersection of Jackson and Maple when Donald Fawkes noticed a white male sporting a crew cut, wearing a 3/4 length navy blue jacket with an elastic waist, rust-colored or brown pleated trousers, and tan engineering style footwear. The man was on the north side of the street, just shy of the intersection, and then headed into the park. When he approached the white male on Jackson Street, he would ultimately claim his suspicions were not aroused, as a radio dispatcher had issued a misleading description of a black male adult. So he continued along Jackson Street to Cherry Street and headed south towards the scene of the crime.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
So do we think there was some racial profiling going on at the time?
I don't know. Well, I don't think so, because the kids gave the description to the dispatcher.
And they're like upstairs and downstairs, right? Like of their house, looking across the street.
They were,
at night, right?
they were an upstairs window looking across the
Right.
street. So on this picture that we've got out here, the opposite over onto the right,
Is that brown? I'm colorblind.
gray or
but
I can't tell.
The opposite of the cab.
Saw this happen, and they saw him. They said they could tell he was doing something with the body, and as we'll know later, he was actually cutting part of the shirt off of him.
Right.
The kids said he walked around, wiped for prints.
And they thought there was like a scuffle going on. Like they didn't realize that the cab driver was actually dead at that point, right?
Right. And there's so much controversy about whether, when the police were questioned by their commander, if they told the truth or not.
Right.
They saw this guy supposedly. Well, let's see. Should we get into hang on a second. Let's just go to this next letter, and then we'll talk about it. Just remind me, though.
Okay, I got you.
I want to do a quick shout out to Italian in Laguna, who's in the chat room. Grew up in the Bay Area during this time and said that Zodiac was a real life boogeyman.
Oh, I imagine. I bet people were terrified. I mean, you had a guy just randomly killing people.
Terrorizing.
Absolutely. That's horrible. And okay, so these are the Stein letters, what they call, October 13th, 1969. All right. In the Zodiac's correspondence to the San Francisco Chronicle, the killer mailed the section of Paul Stein's shirt, bloodstained, that he removed after killing as proof of his involvement. The letter read, "This is the Zodiac speaking. I'm the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington Street and Maple Street last night. To prove this, here is a bloodstained piece of his shirt. I'm the same man who did the people in the North Bay area." So he's referring to Mike Mageau, Dave Faraday.
Psychopath.
Yeah. "The San Francisco police could have caught me last night if they had searched the park properly instead of holding road races with their motorcycles, seeing who could make the most noise. The car drivers should have just parked their cars," or the cop drivers, what I think he said, should have just parked their cars and sat there quietly waiting for me to come out of cover. School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, just shoot out the front tire, and then pick off the kiddies as they're come bouncing out of the bus." So,
Did you see Kennedy's eyes when
I
you read
did.
that?
Yeah, she should even. There's a,
No, it's okay. No, it's okay because like Italian Laguna was saying, like this was the real life boogeyman. He grew up in that area. He was a kid. Can you imagine being a kid this is like run around Oklahoma City? I mean, it'd be
right,
horrible, man.
And so what they had to decide to do, Garrett, is, gosh, do we have a cop car follow every school bus?
Right. Did they do that? Did they end up doing that?
I don't know if they did every bus, but yeah, for the majority of the time they had, for a couple of weeks, police following them around. just to make sure that this psychopath wasn't.
Well, and I think they put in some
around.
protocols too. They were like, if the bus driver, if you hear a gunshot, you start driving and honking your horn as loud. Did you see that? Where they gave them some protocols, the bus drivers. Like if you hear a gunshot, start driving as fast as you can, start honking your horn, try to get as much attention as you can.
Yeah.
And so that's,
Well, they said in response to the latest communication, the police mobilized armed guards, the tracking of the school buses, along with increased surveillance in the surrounding areas. So, and nothing ever happened. And at this point, he is just so playing games with the cops.
Yeah.
Right?
Did law enforcement release the information about the school bus?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. And
Wait, did they or did the media decide? Or was it just...
No.
Because he was
I
sending it
think
to the media, wasn't he? He wasn't sending this to the cops.
that's true. That's true. But the cops did release this.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure
it's
they're
like,
calling them in.
You have to.
I thought
And
for some-
and especially if the media got, it's going on
some
the
ethics,
news.
yeah.
For sure. All right. Now, there was a second Stein letter and then the famous 340 Cipher. So I'm going to play a bit of a soundbite because I don't want to read all this. This is the longest letter he sent. So I'll read this part where it says, November 9th, 1969, the Zodiac yet again alludes to Paul Stein murder on November 9th, 1969, in 7 pages of correspondence, and he claimed the police had stopped him minutes after the killing of Paul Stein and led him on his way, stating 2 cops pulled a goof. So let's just go ahead and let's hear this letter.
1 of 6. This is the Zodiac speaking. Up to the end of Oct 1, I have killed 7 people. I have grown rather angry with the police for their telling lies about me. So I shall change the way the collecting of slaves. I shall no longer announce to anyone. When I commit my murders, they shall look like routine robberies, killings of anger, and a few fake accidents, etc. A horizontal line the width of the page. The police shall never catch me, because I have been too clever for them. I look like the description passed out only when I do my thing. The rest of the time I look entirely different. I shall not tell you what my decise consists of when I kill. As of yet, I have left no fingerprints behind me, contrary to what the police say. 2 of 6. In my killings I wear transparent fingertip guards. All it is 2 coats of airplane cement coated on my fingertips, quite unnoticeable and very effective. My killing tools have been bought through the mail order outfits before the ban went into effect, except one, and it was bought out of the state. So, as you see, the police don't have much to work on. If you wonder why I was wiping the cab down, I was leaving fake clues for the police to run all over town with, as one might say. I gave the cops some busy work to do to keep them happy. I enjoy needling the blue pigs. Hey, blue pig, I was in the park. You were using fire trucks to mask the sound of your cruising prowl cars. The dogs never came within 2 blocks of me, and they were to the west, and there was only 2. 3 of 6. Groups of barking. About 10 men apart. Then the motorcycles went by about 150 feet away, going from south to northwest. P.S. 2 cops pulled a goof about 3 men after I left the cab. I was walking down the hill to the park when this cop car pulled up, and one of them called me over and asked if I saw anyone acting suspicious or strange in the last 5 to 10 men, and I said yes. There was this man who was running by waving a gun, and the cops peeled rubber and went around the corner as I directed them, and I disappeared into the park a block and a half away, never to be seen again. Hey, pig, doesn't it rule you up to have your nose rubbed in your boo-boos? If you cops think I'm going to take on a bus the way I stated I was, you deserve to have holes in your heads. 4 of 6. Take 1 bag of ammonium nitrate fertilizer and 1 gallon of stove oil and dump a few bags of gravel on top. And then set the shit off, and we'll positively ventilate anything that should be in the way of the blast. The death machine is already made. I would have sent you pictures, but you would be nasty enough to trace them back to developer and then to me, so I shall describe my masterpiece to you. The nice part of it is, all the parts can be bought on the open market with no questions asked. 1. Bat POW clock will run for approx 1 year. 1 photoelectric switch. 2 copper leaf springs. 2 6-volt car bat. 1 flashlight bulb and reflector. 1 mirror. 2 18-inch cardboard tubes, black with shoe polish, inside and out. 5 of 6. Bomb diagram. Bus goes bang, car passes by, okay. 6 of 6. The system checks out from one end to the other in my tests. What you do not know is whether the death machine is at the site or whether it is being stored in my basement for future use. I think you do not have the manpower to stop this one by continually searching the roadsides looking for this thing. And it won't do to reroute and reschedule the buses because the bomb can be adapted to new conditions. Have fun. By the way, it could be rather messy if you try to bluff me. Large crosshair symbol with points at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. And, quote, X's, end quote, at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. P.S. Be sure to print the part I marked out on page 3, or I shall do my thing. Small crosshair symbol. On the back of page 6, to prove that I am the Zodiac, ask the Vallejo cop about my electric gun sight, which I used to start my collecting of slaves.
Okay, so what do you think about that, Garrett?
I think he's evil psychopath.
Yeah, numerous threats, but everything he talked about actually worked.
But one thing he was saying about the school bus, and he said if you believe that, then you deserve to have bullets in your head.
Yeah.
Is he basically saying like he would never do that?
Yeah, or maybe it's too risky to get caught, but also he walked in the middle of Lake Berryessa in the afternoon. And so, I don't know, maybe he's saying, I would never kill kids, possibly.
Right. Yeah.
I hope that's what he was referring to. But getting back to the cops, I'm going to go ahead and put us back on so you can see this madness that was going on behind the scenes.
Well, there's just a lot.
There is. I had it's a ton. I'm trying to keep up with everything, and again, I apologize for some of this stuff that happened, and I'll make sure next week that we get the sound working for. And I don't know why it wasn't, because it was working before.
Hey, you're doing a good job of laying out all the crimes that happen, because then from here on out we're just going to kind of go down that rabbit hole. So
yeah, and one thing I wanted to bring up is you and I talked about Donald Falk and Eric Zelms, the two police officers who turned onto Jackson Street, and they saw this man walking towards them and fit the exact description.
Right.
So, Inspector Toshi, Dave Toshi, was the guy who was the head investigator, him and Bill Armstrong. And I'm pretty sure they got their asses reamed. Although, to their defense, they said black male.
Right.
And,
you brought up a good point when we were talking about it beforehand, though. Like, wouldn't you, coming into a scene of a murder, even if you had black male, wouldn't you take some more interest in that, or no? I don't know.
I don't know. I would at least stopped him.
Yeah.
And talked to him. So let's talk about that.
Right.
Zodiac said they called him over to the car.
They claim they didn't, right?
Okay, they claim they didn't, but I've got some information.
Okay.
And I think it's probably because they didn't want to get in trouble.
Of course. Yeah.
In fact, they saw, I think it was Donald Falk saw where the suspect actually walked up some stairs into a house and knew the apartment and everything, but he forgot to put that in his report.
Oh, he forgot?
Yeah, that's what he says. And
right.
If you watch that that documentary,
I did.
Do you remember that part?
Yes.
And he goes, well, and the guy was questioning him really hard, like, well, why didn't you say you saw this guy? And because
he didn't think it mattered. Yeah.
He didn't think it mattered. But at the same time, you would have even stopped the guy and asked him, hey, anything suspicious, which I think is what happened. So most people think the Zodiac's telling the truth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And Also, I think he is too. I mean,
I do too.
What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. And I think that I'm trying to put myself in their shoes as they're getting the call, and it is like a black male, and so I could see where they're just, because he did say they like screeched their tires, try to get out of there quick.
Yeah.
So they're probably one that with good intentions. I don't think it was anything like on purpose. Now afterwards, yeah, I'm sure they got together and were like, oh shit.
Yeah, we messed up.
Like, hey, we didn't see him.
Well, interesting.
And then that comes out.
Yeah. And interesting information. Eric Zelms, who was the other officer with Donald, he passed away, but his wife has came forward and she admitted that she goes, yes, my husband said that they did call him over to the car. And
I mean, but
he took that to him with his grave.
I probably would too.
Yeah. If you think,
I mean, it's not.
but also at the time, you got to remember that they didn't know this was a Zodiac killing.
Right.
They thought it was a robbery that just went bad.
Right.
And not that it makes it any, better or,
Right.
But it's after that when he sent, pieces of Paul Stein's shirt, then they're like, that's when they go get those two officers. In
Right.
here. That's when
Well, and
Toschi,
because also think about like maybe they can improve the composite sketch, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they can like voice comparison. Okay. Right. Because we have surviving victims that have heard the voice.
right.
So maybe, if they do have some suspects and they get recording of their voice and they throw it out to these guys, but if they never admit to having talked to the guy, then it wouldn't matter. Right. And so, yeah,
Right.
I see that. That's tough.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, being a law officer and to think that you may went down in history as the guy that let the Zodiac
I
slip
know.
away. I mean, there's this part of me I kind of get it. It's like, God,
I know.
I don't
This
want my
is the
name
chance,
going down
though.
like that.
I have
Yeah.
to agree with Garrett, though. If you have seen this guy face to face, he's either incredibly unremarkable that you can't remember anything to add to
Right.
existing sketches and things like that, or you're not a very competent law
Right.
enforcement
Right.
officer.
Yeah.
If you
Because
call
they call him
over
over
to
the
your
car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough situation.
Yeah. I mean,
Did they
'Cause, I mean-
clearly see his face? Like, they clearly saw his face. Like,
Well, they don't admit to.
he said he saw his face, but he said, I couldn't tell you the color of his eyes. And he said the guy wasn't acting strange or anything. And he just said, we just absolutely had no reason to think he was the killer.
Yeah, but also how many, huge Cops fan, Kennedy, Cops fan. How many times have you seen where they call somebody over to the car? You're not talking to them from like 10 feet away.
Right.
You're like, hey, come over to the car. Like, I need to
Right.
talk to you. I want to maybe smell your breath or see who you are. And so,
100%.
yeah, 100% Pamela.
And and Eric, that one police officer, he said, hey man, he goes, we would have saw blood all over him if it would have been him, but not necessarily.
Not
I
necessarily.
was thinking about that. If you're sitting in the cab
From the
and
back.
and you're pulling from this side, the blood splatter's going this way. You're probably gonna have a little blood splatter on you,
Right.
but he had to been the part where he had to been really careful is when he went around front, grabbed his body, pulled him down, pulled out that part of the shirt and cut it. But if you're careful enough,
To write in code
you
for.
probably and in the dark,
Yeah.
and you're wearing a dark coat.
He had a dark coat on. Right.
Yeah, there may have been minimal blood on him.
And these guys are in a hurry looking for a blackmail, right?
Right.
So when they come across him and they call him over, they're not even thinking that they're asking, have you seen anybody suspicious? They're not like looking at him as a suspect at all at that point.
No.
So it could be something that is concealed, right?
Yeah, because it's a sense of urgency because it's like we got to find this guy.
Well, he
so we
mentions
see this
it,
guy
yeah.
walking, he doesn't match the description, we move on.
Yeah. You screeched your tires.
But most people do believe the Zodiac is telling the truth and the police are lying.
Actually, I think he probably is.
I think he is. I mean, and when you have the other officer's wife, when she did come forward and said
Right.
that actually happened, they just kept their mouth shut about it.
Probably just wait on him.
Yeah. But, let's talk about something else. So the 340 Cipher, I don't know if you guys keep up with Zodiac stuff, but it was finally solved. December 11th, 2020, just a month
Wow.
ago.
It's like the best thing that happened in 2020.
Best thing that happened because I think so many people are hoping we'll find his name in here because,
Yeah.
the Zodiac always tease about, he's got one cipher called My Name Cipher. Is that right, Dylan?
yeah, it's like 14 characters.
It's only 14 characters, so yeah, it's like you couldn't figure it out unless you had the key.
Right.
So I think he's teasing him. I don't ever think he would have really put his name in there.
Right, yeah.
Unless he's an idiot. And he obviously, this guy was no idiot. But here's what the Cipher said after 51 years. I hope you're having lots of fun. Oh, and let me say this first. On the John Dunbar show, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember that. It was a talk show. Someone claiming to be the Zodiac contacted Jim Dunbar, said that he wanted to turn himself in, but he wanted Melvin Belli, the very famous attorney, the same attorney that defended the Boston Strangler,
Okay.
very well known. And so they make an arrangement, put the show together. They bring Melvin Belli on. This guy calls up and he says, just call me Sam. And he's just kind of talking crazy and everything. And they had Brian Hartnell in the control booth because they said, listen to this guy.
Okay.
Listen to this guy's voice. This is the voice, and at least we know we're on the right track.
Right.
As soon as the guy started talking, Brian said,
Nope.
no, not the guy.
Right. Too high.
Yeah, the voice wasn't right.
Cadence was
He
right.
said it was the cadence
Right,
that he said wasn't the dude. And then the guy told them that he would turn himself in at a certain location, right? And we know,
Right.
like he's going to show
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so Melvin Belli shows up with about 100 media people.
Helicopters.
And, yeah. And Melvin Belli looks up in the air and he goes, well, great for a private meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and we know, the guy's not going to show up.
Well, they
There's
traced
no
that
way.
back, though, right?
They traced it back to a mental hospital. So there was a patient who somehow got a hold of the phone, made arrangements.
Was familiar with the case.
and called the Melvin Belli. But the funny thing is that the real Zodiac. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to read the Cipher real quick. Anyway, so the Cipher says, I hope you're having lots of fun and trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise. Now, some of the stuff I'm going to read to you, I think he was dyslexic.
Okay.
Because some of his grammar is really bad and his spelling is horrible. And I don't know if he's just doing that on purpose. Like paradise, he spells Paradice.
Paradise.
Yeah, and he kind of sounds out stuff, it looks
Right.
like, and just puts it phonetically. So I'll start over, sorry. Hope you're having lots of fun and trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they're afraid of death. I'm not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise, death. Now, do you remember, Dylan, how someone translated that? Because where I wrote that down
think
is
it's
gone.
more so they didn't translate it. I think they just kind of switched the words around to make it a little more sense. To sound
Yeah.
like the Zodiac. 'Cause
But-
that
Life-
last
life
part
is paradise.
Just like
Yeah.
life is life, paradise. It doesn't
Right.
make sense to like the last line.
Right.
Right. So 3 guys, Dave Orenchek from USA, Sam Blake from Australia, and how would you pronounce that?
Jarl van
Eyck from
Yeah.
Belgium. So these 3 guys cracked the 340 cipher, which no one's been able to do for 51 years. So there you go.
That's great work to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they're trying to work, like there's some on the first letter that the Hardens did on that first cipher.
Right.
There was some leftover stuff they couldn't figure out what it meant.
Okay.
And I think those guys are also taking a look at that to see if there's any sense in it. Because he always said, I will give you my name.
Right.
And so they're still looking. But so let me ask, do you think he would do that? Do you think that he thinks maybe they're so stupid they'll never figure this out? By the time they figure out my name, I'm dead.
I think that could be a possibility, or maybe it's hidden in all of them together. I don't know.
So he's truly a narcissist.
Oh, definitely.
But and very, very intelligent, but I mean
Man.
a psychopath and risk taker. And I can't believe this has went unsolved.
It's unbelievable. I do think that if it was nowadays, like this wouldn't have gone on.
Yeah. The thing was also going back to Lake Herman road murders, an officer said, I had just passed by there 5 minutes prior and he said this thing probably happened within a 6-minute period of time, and
right.
so he could have,
Yeah, it was almost like he was taking advantage of the weaknesses in law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like he knew what he could get away with and when he could get away with it. For me,
yeah, it's almost like he he planned this to the point where he knew paranormally almost like he wasn't going to get caught.
The executioner suit, get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why did he have to throw that into there?
Right.
Because
And
he
the-
was creating his character,
Yeah.
right? Because didn't he sign one of the first letters just with a Z?
Yeah, the
Was it
first
Sherry
letter,
Jo
the
Bates?
huh?
Wasn't that Sherry Jo Bates?
Yeah, that's another murder we're going to get into next week.
Okay.
There's a couple other murders that they think he committed that weren't really on the books, and we'll talk about that on our next show.
Was he taking credit for other murders that they didn't think he was involved
Yeah,
in?
that's a good point because he started sending the last few letters he started putting Zodiac 37 FF or San Francisco Police
Yeah.
0.
Right.
SFPD.
Because he said he was going to make them look just like regular robberies and...
Yeah, he said he would make it look like accident, but you know what? I don't think he committed that many.
Right.
I think he probably did the 7. And there's 8. No, I think he maybe did 9 or 10. Those other 2 murders that we'll talk about.
Or up in the
And
air,
then
or...
Huh?
Or up in the air? Or do you think he
There's pretty good
Who
evidence.
is it? 'Cause I don't know Sherry Jo Bates. Who's the other?
The Domingos, and I didn't want to say that live on air. We'll get into it. I'll tell you about it off air.
Right.
But yeah, and that happened in 1963. So they think there's a possibility he started killing in 1963, and killed again in 66, and then 68 and 69.
Man.
But to him, a lot of this, because he always talked about the game, the dangerous game. This is a
Right.
game. I think it was a game to him. It was
I agree.
just like this challenge of,
Yeah.
can I get by with this? Can I fool these police officers? And
Do you think he just like was fulfilled and then just,
just
let his kind
stopped?
of work, like just watch people just,
he
Going loops.
right. Yeah. Like
right.
just over time, just get that became his enjoyment.
It probably was because
Right.
eventually, there were Zodiac letters up until like 1978, which I don't think were Zodiac letters.
Right.
I think the last one was 19, what was it, Dylan, 71?
I thought the Exorcist letter, the one he sent about.
Yeah, he sent one about The Exorcist
comedy.
being the satire comedy, one of his favorites. That's what he called it. And I
Do you
think
think he wrote that?
I think so.
That's what most people think was the last letter sent.
I can almost now look at his letters and can look at another letter and go, no, he didn't write that.
Right.
He had a particular way of writing. He wrote he put spaces between letters in words.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, I told you, he looked like he kind of tried to sound out words. So
Right.
if a word had 2 syllables, sometimes he would write the first part of that word. There'd be a little bit of a space, and he'd write the second part of the word.
I think he spelled Christmas like Christmas.
Mass, yeah.
Right.
And that could have been just mass, could have been
Well, and he
like
could have
a
just been
joke.
and like you said earlier, though, like this could just be part of his game.
Right.
I mean, it really could be.
I think it was a game, and the most dangerous game was an old movies in the 30s about a guy who brought people to this island and hunted them.
What a
And his name was what? Count Zoroff.
Yeah.
So Z.
Right.
So yeah. But the next show we're going to talk about the 2 other murders, and then go over the suspects.
Okay.
On
Cool.
it. And it's a rabbit hole.
So you don't think that this will never get solved?
I don't think it will. I think, from what I understand, the thing is they've got DNA from the stamp. He sent these letters, so they grabbed the stamp, pulled it back, found enough saliva to get a good DNA
Oh,
sample.
so it's a good DNA sample?
That's what they say.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
But it's been since 1969.
Right.
That they've got this. But I think the scientist, the female, the lady said that they had a good sample of it. In fact, she said, I've looked at this so many times. She goes, I can just kind of look at someone's DNA and go, no, that's not it.
Wow.
That's not it.
Wow.
But so, and I keep wanting to talk about the suspects, but I know we're waiting until next.
I mean, hey,
Next
if
week.
you mention him, it's no big deal.
Well, it's like Arthur Lee Allen was one of the big ones.
Right.
And to the point where I almost wondered, okay, do we know this DNA belongs to the Zodiac? Because there were so many things about Arthur Lee Allen that we'll get into next week
I
that
know.
were just like,
I thought it was him for sure.
I did too. Yeah, you're thinking, okay, that's him. That's
it has
him.
to be.
But do we talk about the DNA on Arthur Lee Allen? I mean, some of these people probably already know, but
I don't even know if I know about the DNA.
well, his DNA didn't match.
Okay.
And so they ruled him out. But again, that's like I said, and also they said that, off the cab, they got a partial print.
And he disputes that, right?
Yeah,
Zodiac?
but you got to think about how many people that guy picked up
Oh, definitely.
who
But it
touched
was in
the
the blood.
cab. And it could have been a cop
It
who
could have,
accidentally
right.
touched
Definitely.
the thing.
Definitely.
But, that's what he was saying is, ha, 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 you don't have my
You don't,
prints.
right. I know that to be a
Because,
fact.
yeah, I put cement on the
Oh, my God.
tips of my fingers. Stevie Ray Vaughan used to do that when he used really heavy gauge strings on his guitar.
Right.
And he would just get these horrible blisters that would split open, and he would take super glue though,
Oh, my goodness.
and between the set and pour it on his finger and let it heal, and then he'd go back and play.
That's insane.
Yeah, I would think that'd be toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, you can super glue a lot of
Give you-
things.
yeah, your fingers.
Yeah.
Over time, it might have been.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's
Why
true.
did you say
That's
that?
true. So, Pamela, is there any questions out there that anybody wants to ask?
Well, there's been a couple of comments. One is
This show is horrible.
no, not at all. Not
It's
at
been
all.
the most boring show.
Mona commented about possibly he changed his MO because serial killers will often do that. Agreement from a couple other.
Let me cut you off for
people.
just a minute, Pam. Mona, yes, we're going to talk about Dave Toschi. He was a big part of this
And
case.
yes, that was the next thing I was going to throw out there. I want to revisit just for a few minutes the Paul Stein murder in the cab. I hopped on another page.
That's for Mona, by the way. I just put a picture of Dave Toschi up there for her. So that's for you, Mona.
I hopped on another page and looked into the civil rights movement in the Bay Area in 1969.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of civil unrest still at that time in that area. We're hearing about Selma, Alabama, and places
Right,
like that. The Deep South, naturally, is what we think of the most. But
Right.
at that time, there were still a lot of protest. Cadillac dealerships that would not hire black people for anything beyond janitorial staff, banks that would not work with them, so people would go in and do what they called a penny protest, where they would take bills in, ask for change, and then demand that the tellers open the coin rolls and count them out individually just to
my goodness.
tie the bank hours up. And then, of course, education was another big area, and how education's never going to improve. Segregating or desegregating schools is never going to help anything as long as neighborhoods are staying segregated.
Right.
So, to me, with all of those things still going on at that time, I'm sure if officers are hearing, we've got a black suspect, then their mind is really stuck on,
zoned in.
is this, a more of a racially motivated issue? How many of the victims were white? Every single one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every one of them were.
So, at that time, they may have been even thinking this is a racially motivated thing with all the
Right.
civil unrest that's still happening in the area.
Yeah, but they didn't know it was Zodiac, though.
No, that's their point.
Right. But
The cops would have thought if they would have known
Right.
it was a Zodiac, they would have, and they came out black male, then they probably would have definitely stopped that guy.
right,
And been
might
like,
have questioned him more in
Right, right.
depth.
Yeah.
But
But-
if their mind is so focused
yeah,
on,
they're pitching
Well, and that's true. Back in the 60s, I mean, black people got blamed for everything. So a robbery, they're probably going to think, oh, it's a black guy,
Right.
because it was so bad at the 60s with the racial profiling.
right.
But I do wonder if that dispatcher just heard just
Black jacket or something, or
yeah,
like,
black jacket, right? A dark jacket, maybe dark skin,
right.
and the witnesses were in the building across the street
Right.
looking down.
Yes.
What time of night?
Exactly.
Street
It was-
lights.
yeah.
It was late.
There was like one street light, right?
And these are 13-year-old
One, two-
kids.
Exactly.
Oh, they're reliable.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying too. And there's like a scuffle going on. Like, so if you imagine looking down
Well, they
from
thought,
a window
yeah,
across
they
the street.
they thought that they were fighting.
Right.
That it was a fight, and But I'm sure they heard the gunshot. That's what made them run to the window, to
Right.
see what was going on. So, yeah. And Pam's got a good point. I mean, even adult eyewitnesses are not really good. So kids.
Some kids seeing that freaking out.
But, to their credit, you got to give, I mean, they nailed everything. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah. They helped the case for sure.
Even Michael Majo said that he thought the guy was 5'8".
Right.
But again, I don't, kid. Everybody looks tall to a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't.
How old were they when Michael Majo and all this happened to them?
Do what?
How old were they when all this happened to them?
Michael Majo?
Yeah.
He was like 19, something like that. 19 or 20.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, because I think Darlene was 23. He was I think he was 19. So, but at the same, I mean, even an eyewitness who's a victim, that's happening so fast.
And it's so out of the ordinary.
And he said the only thing he said, he goes, I didn't get a good look at his face. He said, all I did is I looked and I saw a profile of him as he's turning.
That's not the guy.
And as soon as he turned in, he said he just started firing.
Oh, on that one. Okay.
Yeah, on that's the not Lake Berryessa, but Blue Rock Springs.
Right. He's right. Yeah.
So he didn't get a good look at him. I mean, Michael Majo, bless his heart, man, he's got so many issues now.
He does, yeah.
He's got
Well, you would.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bullet went through his tongue. He has a hard time talking. There's actually, there's a lot of he's got a lot of physical problems as well.
Yeah,
that's been going on.
That was just a straight up ambush.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they were all ambushed in a way. But go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. But what's interesting is Michael made it sound like that Darlene knew who this guy was.
Yeah. It's a jealous guy. Don't worry about him.
Well, he pulls up next to him, looks at him, and he drives off. And he's like, D, who's that?
Yeah.
And she goes, that's okay. Don't worry about him. It's just like what you said.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. But he said she had this whole look on her face like she looked at him like, oh, shit, recognized him. And then he drove off, and they were thinking, thank God. And then 10 minutes later, he comes in right behind him, gets up and...
Did he confirm that was the same car that came in behind them, though?
Yeah.
Okay, he did.
Yeah, they thought it was a Mustang or a Corvair, which was the same model of car Darlene was driving. It was a kind of a small sports car.
Right.
Another interesting fact at Lake Berryessa, which was kind of weird, is that he had pulled up behind the car Magia, and they said that the tires were different sizes.
Right, yeah.
Different size tires.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So, yeah.
Hey, we didn't talk about the lady that claims that she got kidnapped.
I was about to mention that.
That one's really weird.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up next episode.
Oh,
but
I ruined everything.
No. No, basically, yeah, I mean, did you know there's a whole bunch on her?
Right.
Maybe of making up the whole story.
Right,
yeah. To try to get attention.
Man, but for her to come up with that story though.
I don't think she made it up.
Because I'm like, dude,
listen, let's go ahead and tell these. I mean, because they're going like, well, tell us what.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so one evening, this lady, and see, that's the reason I didn't want to do this, Garrett, because I don't have her name, and
it's fine.
I don't have the facts.
I don't care.
But she's driving in her car, and she's got her baby with her, and all of a sudden she sees these lights behind her flashing, and she's thinking, "What's this guy's problem?"
Right.
I'm car's fine, I'm driving fine, so she keeps going. And he keeps coming up behind her, and she finally just pulls over. And he comes around to the front, and he says, he goes, hey, I noticed one of your tires is wiggling. He goes, your lug nuts are probably loose. He said, if you want to, he goes, I'll tighten them for you real quick. And, and then you can be on your way. And she thought, okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
So what he did, he went back there, and she's seen him doing something, right? So she pulls out.
Italian in Laguna says it's Kathleen Johns.
Thank you so much. We got the best followers, man.
He's been on for a while too. I like
and
that.
very, very helpful.
Yes, you guys are great. I love you guys. So anyway, so she starts driving, and all of a sudden her tires coming. Their car's jumping, and it's like, holy crap, what's going on? And I think, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I got to research this for next week's show. But I think the tire may have came off, and so anyway. He pulls up behind her and goes, oh, wow, man, that's worse than what I thought. And then pulls a gun on her and says, or no.
He's hopping in. I'll take you to the nearest
Yeah,
gas
that's
station.
right. He says, hey, get in the car, and I'll take you to
I didn't know you had a baby.
Well, here, you want to tell it?
No.
No, I'm just saying you can if you want to, because it's like.
No. Well, no, then they just go past the station, right? And
Well, yeah, he gets in. He goes, "I'll drive you to the station." He does, and then she's getting her baby, and he's like you said, "Oh, so we got more company, huh?" Or something like that. So
what an a-hole.
yeah, so they get in the car with him, and they're driving. He drives right past the gas station.
No thanks. Dude.
So now she knows,
Yeah.
okay, something's up. And he goes, "I just want you to know I'm getting ready to throw your baby out the car window, and I'm going to kill you." And so she grabs her baby while the car is running, jumps out of the car with her baby,
tucks and rolls.
I guess, gets down in a culvert, and he stops the car, and he's with his flashlight, and he's trying to find her.
Oh my God! See,
And-
I didn't know all that.
And the fact that the baby didn't cry,
That's some maternal instinct too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
Mama
Yeah.
tiger will kill
Yeah,
to
yeah,
protect
for
her
sure.
cub.
For sure.
and so the baby, I mean, thank God the baby didn't cry.
Right.
He looked around for a little bit, he got back in his car, and he left. And then she flagged down a trucker, and they called the police. And then the Zodiac wrote a letter saying, "I had a very interesting ride with a lady the other day."
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and she went to when they took her to the police station. She's sitting there. She's not thinking it's a Zodiac, and
Right.
she sees the wanted Zodiac, and she goes, "That's the guy who that's the guy right
Oh
there."
my God! So it looked
It
a lot
looked
like,
like the
he,
Zodiac
He
sketch.
admitted that, right? That his sketch looked like him when he's committing his crimes.
He
or
said,
whatever.
he goes, "I do look like the sketch you guys made when I'm doing my thing." But he said, "When I'm not doing my thing, I don't look like that. I look different."
Right.
You have general facial features that you can like notice.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get Dylan a microphone because people are gonna go, "Hey, we can hear that guy."
No, it's okay.
No, but yeah, it's so that was an interesting story. But I mean, and then again, there's talk about that Zodiac started reading news articles about different murders, and in fact, Kathleen Johns, and admits he's the one that did it when actually he had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So I mean,
he attaches himself to
he
it.
attached himself to it. Well, I mean, we're just never going to know
I know.
unless
Unless these
they-
guys still keep cracking these codes, and God forbid he did put his name in there somewhere.
From what I've heard, they have uploaded the Zodiac's DNA
Okay.
into one of the like Jed match, and they're just waiting for a hit, and nothing's came up.
Right. You need your glasses.
100%, Garrett.
Italian Laguna, thank you so much. Yeah, we are going to have a PayPal account set up real fast, probably next week, for donations, and maybe by the next show, I think we'll have that ready, and I'll let you guys know. But thank you so much. That's very, very sweet
Yeah,
of you.
seriously.
It does help us keep running the show because I go through ink like nobody's business, and I buy a lot of folders. I buy lots of stuff, so that'll help the show keep going. I hope we're making it entertaining enough for you guys that you want to continue watching the show.
Oh, we are.
So, and I know some murder crimes are more popular than others. I know, when we did Delphi, that just went through the roof. But I'm not really doing this for the money. The Zodiac thing. I want to do cases that I think is very interesting. So hopefully you guys will think they're interesting as well. But
I mean, this one's unbelievable.
this one is unbelievable, and this one, like Delphi, drives me insane because I know probably when I pass away, this thing still isn't going to be solved.
Zodiac.
Probably, unless they, like I said, unless they can they get a match.
Yeah, because
on the
there's no
DNA.
way that Zodiac could have known that we were going to be here in 2021 with that kind of technology.
Unless he's a time traveler,
Unless he is.
and he knew, I can't do it this time that way because I'll get caught.
Oh.
So we got to bring the paranormal into this a little bit, right?
But you get what I'm saying, though? Like, there's no way that back then he would have been able to say, oh, they're going to be able to throw
No,
my
and I wouldn't
DNA into a genealogy database and track me down through building a family tree amongst three fucking people.
Right, and yeah, exactly. So that's one thing. Like the stamp licking, I would think he probably would do that and not even think
Yeah.
about it. But I also remember, back in the day, like my aunt or my grandma, she had a sponge. So
Oh,
she didn't
okay.
lick the stamp. She would just put the little stamp on the sponge, dab it on there, and put it on there.
But most dudes would probably
But
just
most people are licking stamps,
especially
right?
guys.
And that's
And I'm pretty sure we can rule out a female, right?
And that's where
Yeah.
this will also get interesting about the stamps with Don Chaney, who was a friend of
Yeah.
Arthur Lee Allen,
Absolutely.
who said, "Well, I licked all of Arthur's stamps for
yeah.
Lee's stamps for him." You know,
What a
It's-
good friend.
It's like
I wish I had a friend that could lick my stamp. I'd be go over there and lick those stamps. Put them on. Yeah.
Yeah, and Don Chaney's he's interesting because
He
it's
is.
like it's almost like he had an answer for everything that led to Arthur Lee or Lee.
Mm-hmm.
They called him Lee
Call me Lee.
Lee Allen. Only my mother calls me Arthur. That's what he said. Well, in the movie. Anyway.
Yeah. What a great movie, by the way.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen the Zodiac,
Jake Gyllenhaal's the man, dude.
it's a fantastic movie. Even when the big elephants in the room, because they're not the ending. You're not going to know who the Zodiac is, but it's still really compelling
Right.
movie. It's so good.
I remember watching it when it first came out, and obviously I was a lot younger. When did that come out? Do you guys know?
2007.
Okay. Yeah, so I was like way younger, didn't know much about Zodiac, so I had no idea they weren't going to catch him. I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
It was such a good movie. I was like, surely they'll get him, right? Yeah. But no, I actually went back and watched it in preparation for this, like knowing, and man, that scene where they're at the lake and he's in his whole, that scene is absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And that's the thing the guy said. He's like that because he obviously watched the movie, and he's like that the director did an amazing job.
Yeah, he
capturing
actually
that.
helped them
Was he an advisor or
relocate
something?
the actual area where they were attacked. He's talking about Brian Hartnell at Lake
Brian
Berryessa.
Hartnell, yeah.
And even David Finch brought in, like, Brian said, well, there was a tree over here, and so they had a tree brought in with a crane
Oh my god!
and put trees where they were
Right.
supposed to be, just to totally recreate that scene. Which, see, that's how I am about stuff.
Right.
I love if you can totally recreate stuff
right?
like that.
Yeah. No, it's unbelievable.
It
No,
is.
hey, the thing about this case though that I'm noticing, and we didn't know this necessarily going into Delphi, and we found out really quick. But even with Zodiac, you knew this in advance. That I had no idea that when I walked in here tonight that you were gonna have 90 pages of things laying around, and like Cipher and codes and stuff. I was like, and so I can see like how this case in itself is just so overwhelming. I mean, if you laid all this out like on the ground and tried to like look at it from a sky, like a bird's eye view, it would just
putting it together
Holy
was so
cow.
frustrating, and I apologize. I felt like I did a horrible job tonight.
No, dude, you did great. This is tough.
But it was just like, as I'm putting, I'm doing all the murders, I'm thinking, wait a minute, Zodiac wrote a letter, so then I had to go back, get the letters, edit them in between the murders, when those letters came in, what
Right.
date. And then again, okay, well, which letters had the ciphers? And I had to go back try to find that,
Right.
and then try to get all that, because I wanted everything to be as factual as possible.
Right.
And I know, it's just like I told the Delphi people, that's not our life.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, we do crimes, and that's, we may spend 2 or 3 weeks on it,
Right.
looking at it, where you got some guy who spent 10 years on it, 20 years
Absolutely.
on the Zodiac case, like Tom
Right.
Voight would be a good guy to have on as a guest. He's been studying it he's been on multiple television shows. I doubt I could get him on, but I'd like to have him
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
And that guy's real knowledgeable about it. But yeah, we just, we do the best we can. I've had some history on someone snoring.
Is that Kennedy? Oh, my daughter fell asleep.
My granddaughter's in the corner
She's
over
gonna
there
be so
snoring.
happy. She wanted to say hi, and I'll be like tomorrow when I take her to school. I'll be like, "Hey, you were on live last night,
Yeah.
snoring." That's wonderful.
But anyway, so yeah, it's just like I'm saying, it was a lot to put. I mean, there's so much, and I was trying to squeeze all this in to make it listenable, and,
Right.
And someone would want to watch it, and it was just. I just felt like I didn't have enough time. I still feel like I could have did better.
Hey,
Could've did way better.
but you know that like moving into this, it'll become more of a discussion between us, right? Because what you just did, you're laying out like all the facts. See, the difference in Delphi is that we didn't have that many facts, but we had all sorts of speculation come from all over the place.
Right.
With this, you have all the facts, pretty much.
Yeah.
essentially.
It's just getting everything in order too. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe, man. I'd do some research, and I would find one site that has a different date than this other site of when it happened.
Right.
And like with one of the letters, I think it was, and I was like, I got to get the date right. And
Right.
So
You gotta know,
So then
yeah.
I kept looking and looking until I found a commonality of 5 sides say it's this date,
Right.
2 sides say it's this date.
Man.
So then it did make me feel that bad because a couple of those were dedicated to the Zodiac, and
right.
they had some dates that were wrong on
Yeah.
them. So I was like, okay,
But it goes to show you how much is involved in this case, though. I mean, you got,
it's too much.
yeah, it is. No, but hey, it's good practice for us.
Yeah.
Some comments from chat. Mad at Maya. I like Arthur as a suspect, but it also threw me off that he does not fit the victim's description for Berryessa.
Right. Yeah.
Italian in Laguna agrees with that. Hartnell said he
I
had a
agree
tuft
with
of
that.
hair sticking out from under the mask, and Alan was already going bald at the time.
Yeah,
Mona says Case does have a lot of distractions.
much. Is that our Matt Sullivan or someone else?
No, it's Mad at Maya, Italian in Laguna, and Mona.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Or Maya.
I'd have to say
Maya, I'm hoping.
I totally understand about Lake Berryessa, but let me tell you, to me, it does match Arthur Lee Allen because, as you guys probably know, he wore wing walkers. All right, they found a wing walker 10.5 print. Arthur Lee Allen had 10.5. They said that there was quite an indention, so they knew the Zodiac was heavy. And Brian Hartnell said the same thing, that he was a stocky big guy. Arthur Lee Allen, stocky big guy. Now I do know he was balding, and you talk about the hair coming out. Zodiac said, "I look like the sketch, but I don't look. I look different.
Right.
I look like the sketch, but when I'm doing my thing, blah blah blah. You know what I'm trying to say." So I'm wondering. I'm sorry, guys. I'm distracted. My granddaughter's over here
This is so
snoring,
funny.
and I can't keep from
I
concentrating.
love you, Kennedy.
But-
she's my favorite kid out of
but
all three of
just-
them, by the way.
But what if he wore a wig or something?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Underneath the executioner hood, though.
Why
Yeah,
not?
well, why not?
Hey, he went to he went to all the trouble to put on a
embroidered
costume.
it. He sewed that in.
Someone,
He
yeah,
didn't-
it would have had to have been him because I mean, someone would have came forward and said, "Hey, I did the embroiderment
right.
job on that."
Yeah.
But again, I do see what you're saying, because when you know, now I think about when you look at the sketch looks nothing like Arthur Lee Allen. Yes, he was balding, but then you got Mike Mageau saying picking him out of a lineup in a pitch, not in a lineup, but mugshots
Right.
picked out, and he said that's the man that shot me.
Wow.
So it's who was there 2 Zodiacs, and that's another.
I mean, yeah.
That's I mean, there's so
Like
many
a copycat or like.
there's so many theories about was there some guy just watching stuff and writing letters going, you know, I'm the Zodiac, blah blah. But I can't. But
Well,
he-
then you get the shirt with the blood on it and the.
yeah,
Right.
and also he gave those clues about the ammo he used,
right,
how
yeah.
the position of the bodies were when he
Yeah,
left. So
yeah.
it was the Zodiac.
Yeah.
But there has been a rumor for a long time that there's people that actually think there was more than one. Two guys acting in tandem. They were a team.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, you got kind of that sketch to me looks like a skinny little dude.
Right.
But
That's what Dylan and I were
The
talking about
face
before.
looks
Yeah.
so
Face-
skinny.
Yeah, his face
Yeah.
looks
The
so
body
thin.
would be-
But you know, the weird thing about that, Dylan, is they're going off of the girl's sketch. Now, the girl said this was a stocky guy.
Yeah.
So why the sketch artist didn't put
Right.
a little more meat in his
Yeah,
face?
Well, I
Yeah.
heard he also had hollow cheeks. Like his cheeks were very like.
That's odd, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
to
seems
me,
like an odd figure.
if you went by the girl's sketches, there should have been some weight in that guy's face.
Right.
Instead, he looks like, I mean, if you look at him, he looks like he weighs about 130 pounds.
Right. I know. It's insane.
But everybody, you know, even Mike Mageau said he was thick. He said he did notice when he stood alongside the car that he had a gut. So the guy was, you know,
And he wasn't in a costume then. He was just dressed
no,
like a
he
normal
was just
person, right?
he was just dressed a normal
Yeah.
person. And
It's bizarre.
Copycat's been mentioned a
Yep.
few times in the chat room as well.
yeah, absolutely. Copycats is another big one.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, but don't you think that he would have sent some evidence along with a letter that was like, hey, there's copycats out there?
yeah,
Or-
'cause he was pretty narcissistic.
Yeah.
He was kind of like the BTK when during the first murders they arrested this guy, and the BTK wrote a letter and said, "Hey, no, I did that.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
him.
That was me.
That was me." You know,
What a douchebag.
Yeah. So, well, thank God for that guy,
I
right?
know, yeah,
Could have went to death row.
Yeah, I know. Thank God. No, you're good point, but still.
But no,
BTK
that's,
they're
you're
all
absolutely right.
douchebags.
So this guy was a narcissist. He loved taking credit for
Yeah.
the murders he
Well,
committed.
and some people think that he even loved taking credit for murders he didn't commit. So even
Yeah.
more narcissistic.
Yeah, and I kind of think that he did.
Right. Well, it's almost like he started like really getting amped up and everything. And it's like, well, why not? What the hell? They don't know who the hell I am,
can't,
anyways.
Well, they can't prove it.
Yeah, they can't prove it.
And when you say I'm going to make it look like an accident, then
you open up.
you open up the
everything.
whole gamut.
Yeah. Well,
of-
and what he does is he makes the water super murky for the investigation,
Oh,
because
yeah.
then you got to look at everything is going to be the Zodiac, right?
right.
And so, I mean, dude, I hate to say genius, evil genius.
He is an evil genius.
He's an evil genius.
Well, like me and Dylan was talking about the Cipher, that 340 Cipher is a cipher inside a cipher,
Which is
before you can solve it.
so
And
baffling.
you had to go like diagonal 2,
right, yeah.
and then over 2 or over 1, and then you had to put that together.
Right.
And then once you had that together, you had to solve what it was saying.
Do they
So-
think that, like, have profilers wondered if he was in, like, law enforcement or the military?
Yes.
Oh, that's been looked at big time military, because of one of the first things was the wing walker boots. Those are military issued.
And then coding and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and wing walker shoes basically are for Air Force guys who,
On the-
when they walk on the wings, it doesn't get static electricity, so
Right.
they're not going to get shocked or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
So
And you can only get those at the PX at the time.
I would guess, but
No,
you
they
know,
said that. I saw that. Where, like, at that time, you could only get wing walkers from the military PX.
right.
Which
So
would
I'm-
mean you would need a military ID.
yeah,
Right.
but I mean, even and can you imagine? I mean, 10 and a half. That's what I wear.
That's what I wear, too.
And
Yeah,
it's such
yeah.
a common size. So even to go into the PX going, hey, did you sell
Right.
any? I mean, you could have
Right.
bought them in the early 60s,
Yeah.
late 50s, who
Right,
knows?
man.
But that is the thing about Arthur Lee Allen. He wore wing walkers. Boots.
Right.
But
Matt
again,
About Maya wants to know: do you guys think that Van Best Jr. is a plausible suspect?
Absolutely
because he
not.
Does
absolutely not.
at least look like the sketch.
Absolutely not.
Why?
If he's the guy I'm thinking, I read that book. It's the most.
Gary Stewart, isn't it?
Yeah, Gary, is that right? Gary Stewart. Yeah, and I'd have to go through it again. But after I got through, I got halfway through it, and I was like, "This is baloney."
Okay.
And was that the guy also that they had a special on not too long
Yeah,
ago?
it was. The
Yeah,
most dangerous one.
like he actually took his daughter supposedly to a church and left her there for the nuns to take care of. But the thing was, it was proven he was out of the country during the murders.
Okay.
So he wasn't even in the United States. So it was not. What's his name? Earl Van
Best Jr.
Yeah, Earl Van Best Jr. Yeah, it was not
Right.
him. They proved him to be out of the country in '69 and '68. So, and it's crazy to me because there are so many like people saying I think it was my dad. I remember 20 years ago there was a guy that said he found the hood inside
yeah.
an old radio,
Oh.
and that he would talk to his dad. He'd record his phone conversations with his dad. And his dad would talk about being a Zodiac, and of course, I think they proved that was just BS.
Right.
So this guy had to have made this little,
Right. Yeah.
costume
Yeah.
piece. That's a one. Wouldn't it be weird if they ever recovered that from somewhere,
Right.
like in an old chest?
I mean, my
or-
thing is, like, don't you think he's thought of this? Like, because he's obviously thinking about his legacy.
yeah.
I mean,
You would
he's-
think at some point that he put everything in a box, and at his death, when he
Right.
knows he's dying,
Yes.
because I want people to know what I did.
Right.
I
I
got
know,
away
that's-
with it,
right.
unless he started feeling some guilt afterwards and did want people to know. But still, at the same time, people like that,
I know.
they're sociopaths. They
This
have
doesn't sound like a human being that's capable of.
no.
I
Yeah,
know, yeah.
he's a definite sociopath.
To me, I would feel like rather than wanting your name known, you just want to be as the guy that was a Zodiac.
Right.
You don't want your name known.
Well,
at all,
he
because
doesn't
they
care about
reveal
anybody
to be
else.
This person rather
Yeah.
than this monster.
Well,
that
he's
they
getting
know.
his reward in the next life anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and he doesn't care about other people. So why would he care about what anybody thinks about him in
No.
the future?
No,
I mean, him being the Zodiac was enough for him.
yeah, and he,
God dang it, that sucks though.
and he won.
I want him to leave a box.
I know.
No, he hasn't won yet.
Yeah, he hadn't won. And well, I mean, they could.
Genealogy, dude.
Yeah, genealogy. If that
What about
ever.
that, Zodiac? Didn't think about that.
No, he didn't.
He's like still alive. He's like,
yeah, he's 99 years old.
Keith receives a letter.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, realistically, what is the possibility that whoever the Zodiac is that he's still living.
I know.
It's very low.
I would say, because I even thought the Golden State Killer was probably dead by now. And he started in the early 70s, 74, 75, when he started ransacking places. But Zodiac started, if we go back to Sherry Joe Bates and the Domingos, then we're talking 1963. Let's say he's in his 30s or 40s. Yeah, he's
91 to
he'd be in his
96.
It's possible that
So I
in
feel comfortable
that
saying,
he could be in a
saying that.
nursing home somewhere, or his kids are taking care of him.
How old would he have been when he committed the murders then?
Well,
I mean-
the age was always between 30 and 45. They just didn't know.
Right.
So that was 50 something.
But even on the low end of that, he would be
Oh,
in his
yeah.
90s.
yeah, he could have, he could be in a nursing home with Alzheimer's and not even remember the
You
killings.
could be working with him.
I could be working with him, right?
Or could be confessing to killing John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, I had a patient one time that he confessed to being the assassin of John F.
Oh,
Kennedy,
jeez.
and he would call the sheriff, and the sheriff would come down. The first time the sheriff came down, wrote a report because he has to.
Yeah.
So
Wait, for real?
yes, yes, I'm telling you the truth.
Small rural area.
Small rural area.
Yeah.
And so I started noticing the sheriff showing up maybe 3 times a month or something. And I finally asked one of the nurses, I said, "What's going on with this patient?" And he goes, he thinks he killed John F. Kennedy. And he said, the sheriff told him the first time, he goes, "Well, legally I have to take a report if he confesses to a murder." And he did take a report on this guy. And then the guy would forget that he called, and he would call the sheriff again. I think the sheriff was just
Like coming and visit him.
just
and
coming
say,
to visit. Yeah, just
That's cool as sheriff, though.
yeah, just to have someone for him to talk to, no family or anything.
Right.
So
That's cool as sheriff.
yeah, so the sheriff would come up there and act like he's taking his report.
But
you
no,
know.
the Zodiac did.
But now the first time he did actually take a report
Well, he did. Yeah.
because to a lot of people JFK is unsolved.
Right.
So
Question from J. Jason in chat. Whose residence/address was Zodiac seen going into in the Presidio? The
Okay,
address
that's
is edited
great
from
question.
the documentaries.
okay, that's a great question. And every time that officer, I think I said his name was Fawkes, states it, they bleep it out.
So we have no
We
idea.
have no idea. Yeah, every time he says, well, he goes, I can tell you the address, and when he says it, he goes, it makes
Yeah.
that noise. So we don't know. But yeah, and the cop didn't even write that in. We talked about it
Right,
earlier.
yeah.
Failed to put that in the report. Failed to put that. He
Yeah.
even felt that they saw this guy until they were confronted by Tossie
right.
about, hey, what is this about?
Yeah.
And so they had to fess up
That's
about
another
it.
thing you see on cops all the time too, though. When they're like patrolling and somebody's doing something they're not supposed to do, they'll
Yeah.
act like they're like getting out their keys to get into an apartment, hoping the cops will just drive by, and so yeah,
Well, and
you know what I'm saying? though?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a very good point.
that's probably why they bleep it out
Now-
because he obviously didn't live there.
From what if I remember, I think Zodiac said what he did is he went into Presidio. He went through the park, and that's where he hid. And he said he just sat there and waited till the coast was clear, and then he left because he said if you guys would have been patient and would have had every entrance covered, you would have got me.
Right.
He goes, but I just waited while you were driving your
And
motorcycle.
that's why I asked about like if maybe he had like a law enforcement background. It's almost like he knew the protocols and procedures that would happen when he committed a murder.
Yeah,
And when he called, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's possible. Who would have thought the Golden
And he's
State
got
Killer
some-
was a police officer?
you know what?
Oh yeah,
Committing that murder and then talking to the cops and then just chilling in the park and
Yeah.
then leaving. What a
yeah. So,
asshole.
and that's one part I always got confused about is because that officer said, yeah, he watched this guy walk to a apartment,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Oh, I live here. Bye, guys. Yeah, see ya.
but then there's another statement where they said they saw him walking. They didn't say anything, and then he went left.
yeah, they were
and-
lying.
Right, and then yeah, and I have to say I believe that, and I hate to say this, but I think I believe the Zodiac over
I do
these
too.
police officers.
No, I do too.
And especially with the other police officer's wife coming forward, and she
Right.
said, yeah, he told me that
Yeah.
he did approach the car, and that the officers did talk to
Right.
him.
Well, even without that, like if you put yourself in their shoes, like me and you, or those people, can you imagine me and you responding to this?
Yeah.
We're like, wait, do we take a left here?
No, here's what you.
We'd be like, wait,
no,
where are we again?
This would be a shots fired. We're on 10-100 right now. And I'd look at you and go, that sounds dangerous, Garrett.
Yeah.
Italian in Laguna says, I remember reading that Gaikowski's sister lived on that street, and the day of the Stein murder was her birthday.
Very good, because Gaikowski is someone we're going to talk about.
Jay Jason responds, indeed, I've wondered if it
Yes.
was foreign car dealer. Exactly.
They're gonna
He
love
said
our
he
next
hid in the
episode.
Presidio and watched and laughed at the cops.
Absolutely.
From there.
God.
Yep. Gaikowski is one of the guys. He's also Nancy Slover. I think that was her name. She was the dispatcher who took the original call from the Zodiac when he said, I want to report a double murder. At that time, they didn't record phone calls. So all she had was her memory.
Right.
And she had listened to probably hundreds of voices throughout the years before she passed away. Well, somebody played a recording of Gaikowski. Is that right? Richard Gaikowski for her. She listened to it. She says something to a point of, okay, the hair standing on my arms. She goes, I don't want to hear it anymore. She goes,
Whoa.
yeah. She goes, that's the voice I heard that
You
night.
know she wouldn't forget that voice either. That's
Yeah.
probably one of those things that's like just seared into your brain. Kind of like those cops. I guarantee you if they heard his voice, they would
Yeah,
know
they
it.
said he's very monotone, and then she said the thing that she just
Cadence.
really remembered is when he said goodbye, he went, goodbye.
Yeah, wow.
Like that.
Yeah.
And she said that part she always remembered. And there's a part on that tape where Gaikowski, he's getting a little loud when he's talking. It almost kind of has that sound.
Right.
And she made the guy turn the tape off. She goes, I don't want to hear it anymore.
Wow.
And it creeped her out that much.
Foreign car dealers been brought up as well.
Foreign car dealers?
Kajel.
Shell Clave, right? Kajel Clave.
Yeah, Clay.
Get up there, Dale.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, my son knows what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I have no
I've
idea
heard
how to
about
pronounce this.
Kajel Clave. I don't know how to pronounce their name, but it's like a car dealer that they had that was person of interest to be the suspect of the Zodiac. There's not much about him because there's books written about him, but it's a lot of people are gonna say it's speculation or something
Right.
like that.
So is this somebody we need to talk about next
People
episode?
are looking right now going, how come he's not in that seat?
yeah.
Get his dad out of there. He obviously knows what he's talking about. No, he's like me, man. He's into true crime. He's into the
He's our
Zodiac
advisor.
thing. He's got he does. He knows a lot of facts about
Taylor's
it.
our nanny, but Dylan's our personal assistant.
Yeah.
Can you be our personal assistant?
Dylan knows about.
He does know a lot
crime.
about Zodiac, though.
Yeah, so.
And he has a better memory than us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%.
So Dylan, we'll go ahead and ask you this, and then we'll end the show. We went longer than I thought. Who do you like for the Zodiac?
Say it, dude. You
Out
told
of-
me earlier.
Yeah, for me personally, I would say Richard Gaikowski. But most and more likely, it's probably no one on the radar. Absolutely, there's probably no one. It's gonna be some random name we don't even know. Just the same thing with the Golden State Killer.
Yeah, me and Garrett can't say that yet because we have to have another show
Yeah.
for our
You said
findings.
something else before, though.
Richard Gaikowski.
Oh, that's
Geig,
your...
yeah,
okay,
Geig, he goes by Geig too.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, and one of
You
the
do make a really good case for him, though.
and also speaking of Richard Gaikowski, one of the things that's interesting is how the Zodiac said, "I will put my name in the cipher."
Right.
Well, Geik is in the cipher.
And even for me, that's a bit of a stretch because it's
G-Y-K-E.
G-Y-K-E, and he never spelled his
Okay.
name like that. And I think that's
Yeah,
also-
but I mean, but you still wouldn't want to get. I mean, if I'm a murderer and I'm Keith, I'm going to be Heath or something like
well,
that.
and he
Yeah.
was misspelling words on purpose anyway. So why wouldn't he misspell? What would stop him from misspelling his name and letting you just go on with
Well,
it?
now if we also take the thing where we think, okay, Richard Gaikowski and Dylan, you can help me with this.
Yeah.
What didn't he work for a newspaper?
He worked for I can't remember the name, but the newspaper place, the place where he worked was right next to like Paul Stein's apartment.
Okay,
like,
so
close to it.
would you say that his spelling, probably Richard Gaikowski's spelling, was pretty damn good?
I guess you could say that because he
So
worked for that.
if we're looking at the Zodiac's letters, it looks like a definite dyslexic person, or he could have been
so good.
smart that he
Smart
Right,
that
that's
he
what I
wrote
was
like
gonna say.
that.
He's so good with words that he knew that in advance.
that he could come up as a
Right,
dyslexic person.
exactly.
Okay.
right. But if I mean, there's a lot of people who really believe that indeed he was dyslexic with the way he spelled words.
Right.
If that was the case, then Gaikowski's out of the question because Gaikowski was well spoken.
Right.
He worked for the newspaper. His spelling probably, grammar, everything was probably very
Absolutely.
top notch.
Absolutely.
Unlike, go ahead.
Average newspaper, though, is written on a third grade reading level.
Oh.
Yeah, but you don't, like, if you're going to spell Christmas, you wouldn't put two S's, and you wouldn't spell paradise with a C. There was just like his spelling is like he phonetically is how he spelled
Right.
words, how it sounded to him.
Yeah.
So that's what, I kind of think, this guy was probably dyslexic.
Okay.
Because that's another thing, being narcissist, he wouldn't want to come across looking stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a guy who takes great pride in who he is, and he's smarter than everybody else. He's smarter than the police, and he would use good grammar.
Yeah, but don't you
do you
think?
think?
Because they mentioned that I thought that they had mentioned that like some of that was common knowledge. Is it common knowledge that he was misspelling words and that it was like
yeah.
bad
Oh,
grammar?
yeah.
In the ciphers.
Yeah,
especially,
yeah.
and stuff like that.
So you think he would have addressed that?
Yeah,
one,
even his
but-
ciphers, if words were misspelled, and you kind of
Right.
you had to sound them out. Like when I was preparing for the show, and I was just reading the cipher after it was deciphered,
Right,
or whatever
yeah,
you call it. The first one, I was like, I gotta find where someone actually typed this out because I can't,
Follow, yeah.
the spelling was kind of weird, and so that's what
But
I
that's
ended
my
up doing.
point. It seems like it's all part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like you said. I think to this guy in his messed up brain, he was playing a game. He was taking victims. I don't necessarily know if he really believed he was taking slaves for his paradise,
Right.
or if this was just like some type of mental game that he had that he just challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the more, like the Berryessa murders, the more I put into this riskiness,
Yeah.
the more I get off on it, man.
Right.
And if I get caught, I get caught.
Right, yeah.
I still,
I'm not scared.
I still kill 4 other people before these other people.
Yeah, yeah.
But this guy had incredible luck.
Oh, yeah.
The police seeing him walking down Jackson
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
He's in the broad daylight stabbing people
Yeah.
in a ridiculous costume.
I would say luck and confidence.
It's almost crazy
Oh,
that
yeah.
he almost got caught with Paul Stein in the dark. One person died, and he almost got caught
Right.
rather than 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
That's true.
Yeah.
stabbing
That's a great
couple
point.
on a beach in a black costume
Yeah.
that no one noticed.
Yeah, and that, you know what? That may have been why. Because after that, the murder stopped. Although there are other murders he took credit for, which I don't
Right.
think he did. But that makes sense. He almost got caught, and
Right.
he thought, "Shoot, maybe I better stop because
Right.
I've created this character who's no one's going to catch him.
And then he's
No one's going to catch me ever."
Yeah,
His
yeah.
pride would get
And his
in the way.
pride gets in his way, so
Yeah.
he thinks, I did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
But they say also, on the other hand, about serial killers and sociopaths that they can't stop, they can't help
Right.
themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But BTK, Golden State Killer, after they reach a
Yeah.
certain age, even BTK said, I got to the age where I knew I couldn't
Right.
control my victims anymore. I could
Right.
get caught. Golden State Killer hasn't talked, but I'm sure as he got older, and gained a little weight, wasn't as fast as he was, he probably thought, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So they had to have
My
some other,
legacy.
they had to have some other avenue, I guess, to fulfill that. And that's why a lot of these serial killers will take like necklaces or even pictures,
Right.
and they'll recreate that in their mind, and
To
to
fulfill-
relive it, to
right.
get that thrill
Your
back.
trophies, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what if for this guy? Another possible explanation is it could be just extreme mental illness.
Absolutely. Oh,
For
yeah.
his-
Where in
Oh,
his
yeah.
head, like
extreme
he's.
mental illness,
Well, no,
though.
I know that. I get that. But for somebody to be able to just stop like that,
Oh.
and him being so narcissistic, where he's like, it's literally a game to him.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense to where he's like so mentally ill and he's so narcissistic that that's actually feeding into his craving. Is the fact that we're all still talking about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's enough for him. He's
his-
like, job,
I
I
can
did my
stop
job.
now, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I,
can
I
stop
would
now.
think even in the spirit, he's like still laughing, going,
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe I did this.
Right.
And I also wonder, like, do you think he had family? Do you think he had a wife and kids, a normal job? Do you think he lived by himself? And even if he lived by himself, do you think he still kept this 9-to-5 job, this thing going,
Right.
killing at night?
Well, because that was one of the
And-
things they talked about with the 2 different tires. Is maybe it was somebody that didn't have a lot of means.
Yeah.
Because why would you just buy a new tire? Is the same as, you know what I'm saying? Have you heard that part?
Yeah, because I mean, it would
They're
be.
trying to profile him. You know?
I mean, yeah, and it would be. I mean, God, if you found the car, I mean, boom, you got him.
Right.
You know, you got the same 4 different tires
Yeah.
on a
Did
car.
his car had 4 different tires?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
So
different.
strange.
yeah.
That in itself is
But you know
strange.
what? I'll admit this. When I was poor, back in probably like my 20s, there was times when I had to just put a tire
Oh,
on.
I know.
You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, but that's part of profiling.
I got
Like,
14s on the back,
Yeah.
15s on the front,
yeah. No,
or
but that,
15s on the back.
yeah. Cars.
Yeah, cars. like, but no, I there's a couple times when I was just
Oh,
I
dude.
couldn't afford to buy a brand new tire,
Yeah.
and I would just buy will this fit on there? Is what I was going.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it might not drive good, but and put it on
Yeah.
because it cost me $15
Well,
at the time.
it's one of two things when like we're profiling like this murderer. It's either somebody that isn't carrying a day job, right, and doesn't have the means, or it's somebody that's really brilliant, again, in an evil way, and they think, hey, I'm going to put 4 different tires on my car
Yeah,
because I'm going to leave tracks. Right.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay, I know now.
You know what I'm
You're talking
saying?
about
So, yeah.
or yeah, that's true. It's so because that could get very confusing.
It would get very confusing. There's 4 different...
you know, you're measuring trucks.
Yeah.
No, because you would think, well,
There's multiple cars here.
multiple cars.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that's great.
You understand
Garrett.
what I'm
That's
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great
so-
point because maybe he did that to try to make them think, okay, well,
Yeah.
we've got too many cars going by. I don't know which tire is which.
Yeah. I'm so looking forward to this series of conversations, though, because now that we're like super into it and we're talking about these things, now we can start to profile a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, man, all the letters, how they spell, I mean, everything that goes into this is just so intriguing. It's insane.
Yeah,
It's really insane.
it's very bizarre case, and it's probably the case that, man, I want to see this solved before I die.
Yeah.
It's one, you know, so I'm hoping.
So are you going with the time traveler theory or not? Is that you?
No,
Hey, I will.
no, I'm going with. Like I said, they got his DNA up in Jed Match. I think it's Jed Match, one of the ones.
Yeah.
And I just hope someday a relative puts their DNA, they get a hit, and it's maybe we get really lucky and it's like a second, third cousin.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they say once you get beyond a third cousin, it becomes impossible almost to build a family
Right,
tree.
yeah.
But that's the only way they're going to catch
Yeah,
this guy
yeah.
is if they get a DNA match, and then again, it's like, are we sure that's the DNA
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
the stamp? You know, what if Don Chaney was telling the truth and he was licking stamps for Arthur? You
Then
know,
Arthur
or
was
Lee.
sending the letters.
Yeah. And then Don Chaney's DNA shows up. He's really the serial killer. But you know what's funny? And we're going way over
You're
time.
good.
I'll say this real quick. Dylan had came to me and he showed it was Don Chaney's handwriting, right?
I thought, okay, I think maybe I did one. Yeah, it was Don Chaney's handwriting.
Okay, and I looked at that and I saw some spaces in
Weird.
between. Now I'm not a handwriting analyst, but it's like that's damn close,
Right.
Overall, though, like,
And
his-
almost like
Right.
so he'd almost be creating an alibi for himself, saying, "Well, if you find, you know, there's a chance you might find my DNA on those stamps
Which
because
is
I licked stamps for Lee."
I mean, that's pretty smart to think about
Yeah,
that too.
but Lee
Yeah.
also didn't have. He had the Zodiac watch with the Zodiac symbol on it.
Yeah. I mean, at some point though, like you know, these guys are probably just messing with the cops too, because they're probably bothering Lee.
Yeah.
Why not wear?
Now
some?
you said these guys. Do you think it's two?
Oh no. I'm
Okay.
saying these suspects that really aren't the Zodiac.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, you know, hey, they're interested in me. I'm getting some attention. You know.
It could
I
be.
see, I see.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it almost got to the point where Don Chaney's was just getting ridiculous. Like, I mean, oh yeah, he like the cop would ask him something. He goes, "Yeah, I remember Lee saying I would call myself the Zodiac Killer if I was
Yeah.
a serial killer."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
you know, really?
Yeah.
So it got a bit ridiculous. All right, we got to go, man. It's 9:30.
Okay.
Your daughter's snoring, and
It's so funny.
need to get her in bed.
her first intro on the YouTube live. All right, dude.
But
hey, good
anyway-
stuff. Hey, I'm looking forward to this series. It's going to be awesome.
It is. This is going to be fun.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everybody for showing up tonight. And like I told you guys last week, Garrett and I will have a new studio probably around Marchish,
Cool.
maybe. I think. What do you think, Pamela? March. Yeah. So we got a lot of stuff to do. So we're gonna try to have. And Garrett, I don't know. We may have to do one show next week.
That'd be actually great for me.
But well, because I
Yeah.
want to make sure we put a lot of planning into this next show,
That'd be great for me.
and we need to have a meeting.
Absolutely.
I can never get him to stay for meetings.
I just talk to you all the time.
I'm just joking. No, he's very good. He's good. So, all right. So, everybody, thank you so much for showing up today. We really appreciate it. We love you guys. Remember to subscribe, like, and share.
Goodbye.
And let's get a huge following going here. All right. From the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp,
And I'm G. Drussel.
and we welcome